fox5radio1.com, and also on Fox Local. It is a free download on your devices. You can also listen in all the time on the Fox 5 Radio 1 network. That's going to be 107.9 HD2 FM. And of course,
good afternoon, and thanks for joining us here at Fox 5 News Live. We're streaming right now on TikTok and YouTube. I'm Jasmine Cornell, and we have a lot of stories to get to this morning, including the Colin Gray trial, which is in its third day and testimony continues. But first, I'm hearing we have breaking news, so let's get to our assignment desk. Tanya Mendoza, the manager over there, has some breaking news to share. Hey there, Tanya.
Hey, Jasmine, that's right. We're working several breaking news stories this morning. The first one I've sent photographer Eric Len out to. This is in Forsyth County on Setting Down Road. The fire chief in Forsyth County tells me that around 5:15 this morning, there was a single-family home, mobile home fire. When they got there, there was one female who sadly passed away and multiple deceased pets. So we're trying to get more information on that. It is under investigation, and we'll have an update on that story a little later today. The second breaking news story that we're working right now comes out of Decula in Gwinnett County, where Gwinnett County Police Department confirmed an accidental child shooting this morning on 3470 Brazelton Highway, which is near a Publix and a Burger King. We actually sent our photographer, Tim Whaley, over to the scene, and he did speak to the mother involved in this tragic shooting, accidental shooting. And basically what she told him off camera was that she went over to the Burger King this morning there to have breakfast with her son. When she was in the parking lot eating, they were going to go to the Publix after to go shopping, when she received a phone call from a neighbor that said a semi-truck had hit their pet, their dog, and she was crying about that. When she turned around, she was staring at the barrel of a gun that the child had gotten in the car, and it went off. She initially thought she was shot and then realized the child had shot one of his fingers off. She called police. Police came, took the child to the hospital. The emergency vehicles took the child to the hospital, to CHOA, and that's where police were investigating. They did take the truck from her, or the vehicle from her, and the gun. It's still under investigation. We're hoping to have more details later on that story, but that's what she told our photographer off camera this morning. So those are the two breaking stories right now. We are going to talk about, you mentioned the Colin Gray trial, which is in day 3, and that's where reporter Tyler Fingert is right now. At that trial this morning, testimony continues from witnesses, and one of the witnesses that we heard from today was the deputy school resource officer that actually responded and actually handcuffed Colt Gray, the son of Colin Gray, who is the accused shooter in this trial. So I think we have some sound from that, and let's go ahead and listen to that sound bite.
As we're coming down through here, I want to say somewhere in here, one of the victims was laying in the hallway. Because of the smoke and the dust and everything, I initially thought it was a duffel bag until I got close enough. Once we got pretty close to Colt, we were able to see that he was a student. The AR was down in front of him. He was compliant.
Okay, that was Sergeant Donovan Boyd from Barrow County, school resource officer in relation to that case, that trial going on in Barrow County. I do want to mention Colin Gray faces 29 charges, including second-degree murder. If convicted on all counts, he could get up to 180 years in prison. So Tyler Fingert's out there. He will continue covering the trial, and we'll have the latest on that trial at 4, 5, and 6. Jasmine?
Tanya, and I'm kind of losing you just a little bit. Looking forward to seeing what Tyler Finger gets later today on that trial. I've listened to a little bit of it over the past couple of days, and the details are harrowing. So, very big trial here. Looking forward to seeing what comes next or what comes out of this trial. There's also an incident with Delta that happened, an unruly passenger on the Delta flight. Can you talk about that? I know it happened in Houston, but that flight was heading over here to the Atlanta area.
That's right, Jasmine. Delta Flight 2557 leaving Houston Hobby Airport this morning about 5:25 a.m. heading to Atlanta had to return back to Houston Hobby Airport after there was reports of an unruly passenger on board. He allegedly may have punched a traveler, and we were following that closely. Our affiliate in Houston let us know about this, and basically we did get a statement from Delta earlier, but it sounds like there's an unruly passenger on board. They returned to Houston. That person was removed from the aircraft. Then they continued with their flight to Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson Airport, and that's where we had one of our photographers this morning, Austin Haygood. He was waiting for the passengers once they got off board, interviewed them about what exactly happened. So Eric Perry is actually working on that story. He's going to have their videos and sound from them describing what happened on that flight. It was about 90 minutes late arriving to Atlanta because of what happened. So we're going to have the latest on that later today.
And, you know, Tanya, hoping everybody is safe in that case there. Now, there's also a situation with South Fulton Police Department or the sheriff's office over there. They're going viral, but what for?
Yes, South Fulton Police Department has decided to ditch traditional lingo to build community trust online. So on social media, they're going to be using lingo that relates more to people in the community. And that is the story Angelique Proctor is working on. She's going to talk to their public safety director and get the latest on that. But guess what? They're saying that since they've started this new trend, other police departments around Metro Atlanta have reached out to them to try to see how they're going about this and to possibly use it on their social media.
Tanya, that's right. Other police departments and sheriff's offices are doing this. I did notice one of them, it wasn't South Fulton, it was another one. Can't remember which one, but they posted a Valentine's Day one. Very funny and lighthearted, making sure that your Valentine's date isn't behind bars and keeping them safe on the road, something like that. But it was funny, and I've been noticing this on social media as well. It's a different way and an interesting way to get connected to the community.
Definitely. The world is different now. We're all on social media, and I guess police departments are realizing that speaking to people online, the way that they're interacting may be good and may build trust in the community. So I'm excited to listen to what Angelique Proctor has to say in her story later today. I do want to mention one other story real quick, Jasmine. This is what Kevin Stewart's working on. Basically, ARC, the Atlanta Regional Commission, put out a new survey that is talking about commuting in Atlanta, and this new survey says that commuter time is like 5 minutes less. So we have a 5-minute win in commuting in Metro Atlanta. So they surveyed about 6,000 people throughout Metro Atlanta to talk about why this is happening, and they give different reasons. What I think is interesting is, though, when I ask everybody here in the newsroom about their commute times, it doesn't seem to be any shorter. So I know you're new to this area, and I think that you would find this interesting, especially everyone who sits through rush hour in Metro Atlanta every day.
Yes, that is interesting. I am new to the area, like you said. I don't hit traffic, thankfully, coming into work in the morning, but in the afternoon, in the late afternoon, evening time, I do hit traffic. I haven't heard anyone, including my friends in the area, say that the commuter time is down. People are still sitting in traffic. So an interesting survey here.
Yeah, definitely. I can tell you, I've been in Atlanta for about 20 years now. And to and from Cobb County, where I live, it can be from anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour and 25 minutes. Through the years, you start to learn the little tips and tricks about traveling around here. So like if school's in or out, will that make your commute any shorter? Heading to Cobb, because Truist Park's there. If there's a Braves game, you have to time out what time, are there going to be more people on the roads, if there's any other big events. So yeah, it's all interesting, and it is an important story for all our viewers to listen into, and maybe sound off with their opinion.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Tanya, for talking about what Fox 5 News is working on and what we all can look forward to in the shows later today.
Thank you.
Now I want to get to another story about Roblox. I know many kids use this. I have little cousins who use this, and some officials are telling parents now to be careful with Roblox. So Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr has launched an investigation into Roblox, again, a popular online gaming and chat platform used by millions of children and teens. The investigation follows repeated reports of child abuse and sexual exploitation initiated on the platform. The investigation will try to determine whether the company is violating state consumer protection laws and putting young people at risk. So Carr has sent Roblox an official request for reports and documents pertaining to reports of abuse and safety violations from Georgia users, in addition to other information related to online safety. And so we have a statement from Roblox Chief Safety Officer Matt Kaufman, and here's what he says. We share Attorney General Carr's commitment to helping keep children safe online. As a platform built with a young audience in mind, Roblox has a history of pioneering industry-leading safeguards designed to monitor for harmful content and proactively block the exchange of images and personal information in chat. Our commitment to safety has no finish line. In early 2026, we completed the global rollout of mandatory facial age estimation, making Roblox the first major platform to require age checks for all users to access chat features. The company also says we take swift action when we identify violations of our rules and work closely with law enforcement to hold bad actors accountable. While no system is perfect, we look forward to working with Attorney General's office to help keep kids safe online. End quote there. So we'll see what comes out of this investigation. Keeping kids safe online is very important, and you have to hold these platforms accountable to make sure your kids are safe. And let's go ahead and talk about weather. I'm a little hot sitting up here, but I know it feels a little hot outside. We're going to bring in meteorologist Jonathan Stacy. He's been talking about fake spring, and I'm just wishing he would say it's fake summer.
I know, right? I would like if we were out right in the warm season, but this is how things go around here in our neck of the woods. We have to go up only to go back down as we trend our way towards warmer weather. In terms of the here and now, it does feel warm and toasty inside this building, but outside doesn't feel too shabby at all. In fact, 65 degrees is the current temperature here in Atlanta. It looks like you've already made it to 72 out there east in Lake Country. Eatonton coming in at 72 degrees. It's pretty interesting that we managed to push the temperatures on a winter day into the 70s with thick clouds, and they have been a common occurrence throughout the day, and they're not budging as we get deeper into this Wednesday. Winds moving in out of the south-southwest at 10 miles an hour is really aiding and abetting today's warm-up, and it's also starting to drive this number up. That's the dew point temperature, and there is just enough moisture in the atmosphere as a cold front moves through to possibly get a drop or drip somewhere across the area before the day is done. Overall, your rain chances are pretty low today and tomorrow, but really climbing as we get into the latter part of the week. Today's high temperature forecast for 72 degrees here in the city. That is 13 degrees above today's average high temperature of 59 degrees. In fact, this 72 degree high is more reminiscent of the first week of April in terms of maximum temperatures. We are on record watch. Today, probably not so much. Our high is set at 72 degrees. Clouds moved in, stifling a bit of that growth. Record stands at 75, set back in 1891. It was also matched in 1951. Tomorrow we'll pull in a little bit closer. If we're able to even tie this, that will be remarkable. That record stands at 78 degrees, set back in 1891. And then Friday we could do it again. However, I'm starting to play with Friday's numbers a bit on the 7-day forecast. And you can see it here. I'm going to pull that number down because I think the rain may take center stage, at least for the first part of the day, and that may kind of blight our climb into the higher 70s that we originally forecast. Nonetheless, my eyes are set on tomorrow, in which I'll be watching the mercury closely. We'll move from the mercury to the skies for Friday and Saturday, and that's where we'll be watching for some heavier downpours to move into the area. At this point in time, the systems that come through both on Friday and Saturday, they don't look too organized. Friday's moves along fairly slow. However, Saturday, that low that comes through our area has some pretty fast forward motion. So I think we're going to get some energy in, but we're going to push it out, and many of you will be able to preserve the second half of your Saturday. The second half of the weekend is nice and dry with emerging sunshine. However, a distinctly different feel in the air as temperatures go back down below average for this time of the year. The real sting will be Monday and Tuesday mornings when temperatures area wide will start out below freezing. Jasmine.
All right, Jonathan, thank you for that weather update. Not excited about the rain, but I'm hearing that we do need it in this area.
Sure, we do need it. We're going to get some too.
Jonathan, thank you. Your time is 1:16. We have a look at what's trending online when we return. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It's a Fox 5 News Live here where we're streaming on TikTok, our Fox Local app, and YouTube. Let's get into what's trending online and bring in our Fox 5 News digital team, Joyce Lupiani. You have some interesting stories to talk about. First, 2 men in custody for a drug bust. Let's get into that.
Yeah, so this story is kind of crazy. So 2 guys were recently busted here in Metro Atlanta for having a really large amount of drugs. So this was all part of a big DEA investigation called Operation Take Back America. And the DEA was working with Gwinnett and DeKalb County Police. So the first arrest happened on February 5th. Apparently agents tracked a rented moving truck to like a warehouse in Doraville. And they said that one of the guys was moving a backpack between the truck and a storage unit. And they started chasing the guy. They eventually caught him in Dunwoody. And when they searched the storage unit, they found like a kilo of fentanyl, which was worth about 30 grand. Then 4 days later, the DeKalb police, they stopped another guy in Stone Mountain, and their canine alerted on the car. And when they searched the car, they found another kilo. So after that, they went to like homes in Stone Mountain and Stonecrest, and they found 3 more kilos and a whole lot of money. You can see the pictures there on your screen of all that money and the drugs. So both of those guys, which by the way, we do not have their mugshots yet. We're trying to get them. Both of those guys are facing federal charges for possession and intent to distribute. And the case is being prosecuted by the federal attorneys.
Yeah, Joyce, this is a pretty crazy story here. The pictures are interesting, as we talked about a little bit earlier today. Now, this is enough fentanyl to kill a lot of people, right?
Oh, millions of people,
Yeah.
probably. I don't know exactly how many. I know there's like a little, you can like figure it out, but they did say in the press release that it could kill like millions of people. So it's a really great thing that they got those drugs, off the streets, for sure.
Yes, absolutely, Joyce. And, you have another story, too, that's about animals. Clayton County staff member bit by dogs. Now, was this... Say that again.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're okay.
It was actually 2 employees that were bit by a pit bull. So here's what happened. So there was a pit bull. His name is Barney. He's really cute. So he was found roaming, and they picked him up and they took him back to the shelter. And when they were processing him, he got upset and he attacked the 2 employees. Unfortunately, he bit like part of the finger off of one of the employees and bit the other employee like multiple times. So, pit bulls, they can be actually really, really good dogs. I follow this one pit bull on TikTok, and he is adorable. So, they could be great dogs, but when they do bite someone, they can do a lot of damage. So, unfortunately, Clayton County had to declare that Barney was like a public safety risk and he can't be released to public. So we had this in our morning show this morning, and then we posted about this on our Facebook page. And right now we've gotten like more than 1,000 comments on this story because, most of the people, they are like defending, the dog. Like any dog would be upset, I'm sure, when this was happening. So a lot of people are saying, pit bulls, they always get a bad rap. He was just scared. He shouldn't be punished for that. Which, yeah, I can totally see that. That is true, but it's not like the same as being bit by like a little chihuahua. Unfortunately, when pit bulls bite, they can do a lot of damage, and they do have to make sure that this dog does not hurt anyone else. So it's a really sad situation for sure.
It is a sad situation. Pit bulls are a bit scary to me, but I do hope these officers recover soon, and we'll see what happens with what ends up happening with the dog.
Yeah, he is a good-looking dog. He's very cute. This next story, I got one more. This one's funny. It's been making me laugh like all morning long, and I'm sure most of the audience has heard about this. So there was this guy in Chicago. He filed a lawsuit against Buffalo Wild Wings because they were calling their wings boneless. So this guy in Chicago, he's like, that's false advertising, because they're really just chicken breast pieces. They're not wings. And he said, they're chicken nuggets. And if people knew that they were chicken nuggets and not actually chicken wings, they probably would not pay as much for them, or maybe they wouldn't order them at all. It was the judge's response, though, that I find like really, really funny. He totally was not buying it. He issued like a 10-page ruling on this, saying that the argument had no meat on its bones. And I know, right? It is so funny. I read like the whole thing, basically. He also said that the plaintiff did not drum up enough facts that a reasonable customer would be fooled by the term boneless wings. And a little bit more serious, he pointed out that the Ohio Supreme Court had actually ruled before that chicken fingers, that nobody would actually believe that chicken fingers are made from fingers. So kind of like the same thing applies, right?
Right.
So, Buffalo Wild Wings has been selling these things since early 2000s at least. And now they could keep selling them and calling them boneless wings.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that boneless wings have been around for a long time. You can go to a lot of different chicken places to get boneless wings. I am not a huge boneless wing fan. I personally don't think that they're wings. I think they're nuggets. But, I mean, filing a lawsuit is a lot here in this case. I'm surprised a person filed a lawsuit over this.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the recent one with McDonald's and the McRib sandwich, but that's another story.
And I do have a question for you. Are you a boneless, bone-in wing? What's your favorite?
Okay, actually, I don't eat chicken. I'm allergic to it.
Okay.
I know it's super weird. We won't get into it. It's a weird allergy. And I like
understand.
Chicken, so.
I understand. Thank you so much, Joyce. Moving now to another topic, a more serious topic here. The search for Nancy Guthrie, that is. Investigators say they're now turning to a technology called genetic genealogy as they work to identify a suspect in her disappearance. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nano says someone who knew what they were doing kidnapped Guthrie from her home nearly 3 weeks ago. And so Fox's Asher Red has been following this story. He's in Tucson, Arizona right now. And Asher, investigators say they're taking a closer look at the DNA they recovered near Guthrie's home, right?
Well, good afternoon. The sheriff says the DNA from the glove that was found 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home does not match the DNA found in her home, and nor does it match the more than 19 million profiles that already exist in the FBI's national DNA database. But investigators say there's still other DNA inside her home that needs to be tested.
The DNA on the glove that was found 2 miles away was submitted for CODIS, and I just heard that CODIS had no hits.
Is there a match on the DNA in the glove to the DNA, the unknown DNA that you found in the house?
There's no match to the DNA at the house.
So entirely separate DNA?
Correct.
Okay, so that would mean if there's no, is there a CODIS match from the DNA in the house?
No.
Investigators are also now trying to find a DNA match using something called forensic genetic genealogy. With this method, they'll upload the DNA profiles they've collected into a public genetic database. And it could potentially lead them to a suspect if someone related to Guthrie's kidnapper ever used an ancestry site like 23andMe or Ancestry.com. Now, meanwhile, at least 2 gun store owners in Tucson tell us that the FBI came to them last week with a list of names and photos. One of them says an agent showed him a 3-page list with each page having about 7 to 8 names on it.
FBI agent, he started asking me questions about if anybody had, well, he actually had given me a list, a paper list of people that had pictures and names on it, and he wanted to know if I could help him pull up in my system if any of these people have purchased a gun in the last year.
Now, the sheriff does not know anything about that list, he says, but he's also still believes that Nancy Guthrie was a victim of targeted kidnapping and that she could still be alive. Back to you.
Now, Asher, I do have a question for you. Do you know of any cases where this genetic technology has been used and it has successfully advanced the case?
Most recently, this type of genetic genealogy testing has been used to find Brian Kohberger, who you might remember was the man who was convicted of the Idaho murders a few years back. So this is proven to work. It just depends if one of the kidnapper's relatives ever used some sort of genealogy or ancestry site.
Okay, Asher, I know you have to get back to reporting. We'll let you go ahead and go. Thank you so much for giving us an update on the search for Nancy Guthrie.
Thank you.
Well, your time is 1:29, almost getting to 1:30 here. We have some more news after the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. Spring break around the corner. I know many of you looking to get away, but if you haven't booked that trip yet, don't worry. We have a visitor today on Fox 5 News Live, Royal Amati with the Vacation Group. He's here to share how you can save money on last-minute winter and spring break trips. Thanks for joining us, Royal.
Well, thank you for having me. It's the vacations is $1 trillion business yearly, and a lot of vendors, a lot of suppliers, a lot of cruise lines are selling majority of their last minute vacation packages that they have, but we still have few pockets available for the spring break. I was just looking at some of them. If you're looking for an all-tour vacation, all-inclusive vacation, there are some availability in Cancun or Puerto Plata, and also cruises. Cruises are something that is becoming very, very popular, as we all know, and there's still a lot of availability that they have available. I looked at a couple of pricing right now for spring break, and you could actually get some of the cruising out of the Miami, out of the Florida area, Tampa area, for as low as $70 per person per day. So there's still a lot of good deals out there. My suggestion would be to call one of our travel advisor, one of our expert travel advisor, to be able to put that package, ideal vacation that you have together for you.
And Royal, I'm going to ask you, what can people do? Who can people reach out to when it comes to booking last-minute trips? But first, what are some of the common mistakes here that people make?
Well, a lot of people are looking at the value of the price aspect of it. They're looking for the lowest price, but they're missing the value aspect of it. A lot of vacation, you're looking for all-inclusive. So you want to make sure that your beverage package is included, your dining is included, because the last thing you want to do is look at the pricing aspect of it. And then when you go on to these vacations, then you have to pay for all of this stuff, and then it adds up. So always ask one of our expert travel advisor at vacation.com. So the price difference between an a la carte regular vacation or all-inclusive. And 99% of the time, all-inclusive, including the beverage, the dining, the Wi-Fi, and all of the onboard credit, extra credit that comes with it, is actually going to bring you a lot more value at the end of the day, and it's going to save you money in the long run.
And you mentioned cruises a little bit earlier. Some people do have to catch a flight to get on their cruise, to board that ship. So, how can people find affordable flights?
Is the same. Just calling one of our expert travel advisors. We'll set up the packages for you from the beginning to the end, from the door to door, leaving your house with the transfers. If you need a cab, a limo, we'll set everything for you. Again, leaving your house and coming back. Our travel expert advisors that we have, that's their job. That's what we do all day. And we have those hidden covert rate pricing that general public usually don't see. So please give us a call, or you could see our website, vacation.com. You could go ahead and look at some of the deals that we're running, especially for spring break, and you'll be definitely saving some money.
And thanks for sharing. So my next question, are there certain destinations that have better last-minute deals?
Of course, obviously Bahamas, Caribbean is definitely Mexico. Definitely, it's in the ballpark of anybody who wants to travel for the last minute. Also, we have a lot of internal inside the country, like going to Vegas, going to California, or anywhere, Florida, Key West. We have some special deals for everyone.
Ask you one more question.
Of course.
What's your number one spring break saving tip? Spring break money saving tip?
It's all about what you want to get out of it. Again, everybody's looking at the price aspect of it, and the value is going to be a lot more important. Imagine you go into a hotel, you have to pay for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And as we know that nowadays, for anything is like $60, $70 per breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All inclusive is going to bring everything together in one, so you don't have to worry about anything. Like I said, the cruises right now, we have some cruises available as low as $70 per person per day to the Caribbean. And that is including, it's like a floating hotel. That's including your beverage packages, is including your dining, Wi-Fi, gratuities. So everything is included to that. We also could bundle that with air. Again, it's going to be an ultra saving for you.
All right, that's some good news there. Thank you so much, Royal, for sharing this information on how people can budget for their last-minute vacation.
Great for having me. Thank you very much.
Yes, have a great rest of your day. Bringing it back home now to the Atlanta area. One of our reporters, Eli Jordan, that is, he is at a fire station groundbreaking. And so I want to get out to him so we can take a look at that and just get some more information on this and see, when will this open? Hey, Eli, how are you?
Hey, Jasmine, I am fine, and I am out down in Henry County at the intersection of State Highway 20 and McDonough Street, just outside of Hampton, where Fire Station number 5, groundbreaking for the brand new Fire Station number 5 has happened, and they're in need of it because their other Fire Station number 5 was in a bad building. And so, this is going to help not only protect services, but also help homeowners with their insurance rates. And right now, joining me is a Henry County Commissioner, Johnny Wilson. And Commissioner Wilson, thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you for having me.
So tell me, how important is it for you guys to get moving with this Fire Station number 5?
Well, like you said earlier, we had to relocate our firefighters and equipment from the old station because we have some health issues and some structure issues, I guess you would say. So we temporarily put that location out on toward the end of the county line. So it kind of put the fire station out of a good response area.
Right.
And so with this location here, it's going to put them in the city and the county, but it's going to kind of put us in the centralized location where they need to be, where all the response times will be where they need to be.
And, Henry County's grown 30% in the past 15 years, and Henry County Fire, they not only handle the county, but they handle a lot of municipalities. Like, it's all the municipalities except McDonough. Hampton, Locust Grove, Stockbridge, they rely on Henry County Fire, correct?
Absolutely. We have, actually, we have all our fire stations in these cities are practically new within 6 or 8 years. And these response, as these cities grow, the county's growing as well. So we have to make sure that we have adequate fire protection in the city as well as in unincorporated.
And real quick, for this to happen, it's important that the voters voted for the SPLOST, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Back in the day when we built 2 or 3 fire stations, we built it out of general funds. And them were tough times. So with the SPLOST dollars that come in, with the voters voting in 19, it allowed us to get these SPLOST dollars to build these newer fire stations. And we also have 2 other fire stations that are funded through SPLOST, which will be coming out of the ground next year or 2.
As a final question, as a county leader, what's it like to be able to come out here and see progress happening?
It's awesome to represent the people and knowing that the people need these projects for the safety of our citizens. This is one of the greatest things you can do for the citizens, provide the safety and the equipment and the stations and house them in a state-of-the-art building.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Commissioner Johnny Wilson out here at the groundbreaking and just outside of Hampton for Fire Station number 5 in Henry County and the Henry County Fire, a $4.5 million project funded by the SPLOST, which is a voter referendum a long time ago to raise 1 cent sales tax for projects just like this to benefit the county and the people who live here. Jasmine, back to you.
All right, Eli, thank you. A couple of questions for you. Did he mention when the doors will open for this facility, for this fire station?
This is set to open about 1 year from now, next March, and then they're going to move on. And they have 16 fire stations, but they're going to also, after this opens up, they're going to get busy from fire station number 17, fire station number 18, and fire station number 19. So there's going to be some new fire stations popping up over the next couple of years out here in Henry County as Henry County grows. And, they got really a 250,000 people living here in Henry County. So it's growing. And it's one of the hottest counties as far as real estate searches go. And so, Henry County needs to update and get things going as best as they can. And that's what they're doing out here today.
All right, that sounds good, Eli. And why did they choose this specific location?
Well, it's more centralized, as the commissioner said. This will be basically centralized to be able to serve both Hampton and the county, outside of Hampton, Henry County, because Henry County has to cover both, cities, municipalities, and the county itself. So it's just located very centrally to where they'll be able to serve in a more thorough manner.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you so much, Eli, for answering my questions and showing us this fire station groundbreaking that will hopefully help improve response times and keep the community safe. Thank you, Eli. Now, moving to another story in our area, a big event happening in Midtown this weekend, and sounds like something that I would love to go to. It will have you yelling out the words, "All shucks." Atlanta's Steam House Lounge will host its 38th annual Oyster Fest this Saturday and Sunday. And Good Day Atlanta's Paul Milliken, he was there and got a delicious preview. Take a look.
Hey, everybody. All right, so if you've been watching Good Day Atlanta, you know I've been stuffing myself full of oysters. It was time to take a break, sit back, relax, and hear some live music. And for that, we've got our good buddy, Francisco Vidal. So good to see you, man. How are you?
Good to see you. Thanks for having me today.
I love that you've got the 2 mics right now. I'm very jealous. I know, I'm jealous, my friend. So let's talk a little bit about Oyster Fest. You have performed at Oyster Fest many times before. What is this weekend like?
It's incredible. It's, you can set your clock to this time of year when the weather starts changing. Everybody gets ready to hit the festival. It's an amazing time.
Yeah. Okay. Here's an important question. Since you are working, you are playing during the festival, do you still get to make sure you eat some oysters?
I do eat some oysters, and I get to hear some great music.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. You've got a packed lineup Saturday and Sunday. A lot of bands playing. So is it fun for you to get to sort of connect with some of those musicians and just hear the show?
It's truly incredible. I get my friend's family trucks are playing playing and get to connect with a bunch of fans and other musicians. So it's awesome.
Yeah, well, we are big fans of yours, so we want to hear you play. Will you give us some music, please?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's start it off. Francisco Vidal, who's going to be performing at Oyster Fest. Let's listen in for just a minute. We love hearing music right here on Fox 5 Atlanta. Now let's head over to the bar. I'm in the mood for a drink. You know, got the music. I've had the oysters. Danielle is standing by behind the bar. Danielle's making a drink. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's so good to see you. I'm so happy to see you again. What are you making right now?
Right now I'm making a gourmet smash.
Okay, so what is in that?
Coconut rum, gold rum, tropical juices topped with black rum.
I love that you just kept saying the word rum over and over again. That tells me all I need to know about this drink. So this is something you won't have it at the festival, but the restaurant is open during the festival and you can get it in the restaurant, right?
Correct.
Yeah. What is this weekend like for you, by the way?
It's super busy.
Yeah, crazy and busy. All right, well, cheers, everybody. Let's raise a glass or a fried oyster or a shucked oyster to the return of Oyster Fest. Y'all ready for the weekend? I am too. Happy Oyster Fest weekend. Cheers.
All right, that looks like a fun event. Oysters are some of my favorite foods, or one of my favorite foods. So I would love to attend that this weekend. Looks like a lot of fun. Still ahead here on Fox 5 News Live, 2026 is the year of the woman farmer, that is. We'll have more details on this and tell you why after the break. Welcome back. 2026 is the year of the woman farmer. Today we're highlighting an example here right in Georgia. Fox 5's Chris Rosenthal is in Madison with how women are shaping the future of agriculture. Hey, Chris.
Well, I'm at the Guthrie Dairy Farm in Madison, Georgia, where they have about 1,100 Holstein cows producing about 12,000 gallons of milk every single day. Quite a lot, and they do it sustainably. But one of the really cool things about this farm, it is run by Megan Clark. She's a fourth-generation dairy farmer here, and this year happens to be the 2026 year of the woman farmer, according to the UN. And so I spoke with Megan just about what that means to her her and to her business and some of her successful sustainability efforts here. How far back in your family does this farm run?
So we are fourth generation.
Fourth generation, that is a long time, and you've taken over recently. And so tell me, 2026, it is the year of the International Year of the Woman Farmer. What does that mean?
I think it's exciting that this year's been named the International Year of the Woman Farmer to really spotlight how many women are in ag. So many more women are in ag than people realize outside of the industry. Here, veterinarians, nutritionists, shopper operators, I mean, there's a woman in every position.
Absolutely. Not just running a farm, of course. There's a lot of different ways women can get involved. What are some of those ways? If there's maybe some young girls watching this or somebody that wants to get involved in the ag industry?
Yeah, so there's excellent youth programs, 4-H, FFA, even if you don't have a farming background, that way people can get involved.
This is Kyler Johnson. Tell me this area here that we are in now. What happens here?
Yeah, so this is the milking parlor. This is the place on the farm where the cows are brought in from the free stalls from their house and brought in here, and this is where the milk is let down by the cow and is collected and stored into a tank so we can sell it to the consumers.
So we talk about milking a cow. This is where that happens.
That's correct. This is where the actual milk is harvested, collected from the cow, and chilled and brought to a processor to be processed for human consumption.
One of the things I learned about this farm, you guys just got a sustainability assessment, and you're carbon neutral. What does that mean, and what does it take to get that?
So they talk about carbon neutral and sustainability. It's talking about using your resources and not wasting resources. And so we found out we were neutral here, which means we don't necessarily negative or positive. But the biggest thing here is sustainability is the amount of milk that we gain per cow. So we've almost doubled the milk we can get from a cow through certain areas: cow comfort, nutrition, and genetics. And so those are the three biggest things we've been able to use to get more milk per cow, which makes us more sustainable in the industry today.
And another way that this farm is enhancing its sustainability efforts is through this feed, for example. It comes from local byproducts, including byproducts from beer making, all in an effort for Megan's farm to become carbon neutral, and not just carbon neutral, carbon negative. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Chris, for sharing information on the Year of the Woman Farmer, what that means, and why it's important there. Right now with me, I have Tom. He is Tom Haynes, that is. He's coming to talk about what's on the polls. Hey, Tom.
It could just be Tom, like Madonna, or
like
Cher.
Madonna.
How about that?
Absolutely.
Jasmine, by the way, that was so cool to see. You often forget the amount of not only farming, but agriculture here in our state.
Absolutely.
And this farm was just one shining example of that. So very, very cool to see from our Chris Rosenthal this afternoon. Jasmine, I have a question for you.
Okay.
When you need to talk something out, all right, and something personal, you call what? Your family, your close friends, people you trust, right?
Yes.
Well, how about turning to your computer and ChatGPT?
Well, people are doing that nowadays.
I know. Coming up tonight at 7 o'clock on The Pulse, it's the show where we talk about the issues that everybody's talking about, really. We're going to talk about if we would use ChatGPT to air our dirty laundry.
Oh, boy.
Because my question is, what does ChatGPT say back to you? And how can this bot, so to speak, comprehend and understand your feelings? It's all pre-programmed in there. It's just what it sends back to you that is the question. So we're going to talk about that tonight at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
The Pulse airs at 7, not only on Fox 5, but right here on Fox Local. There is a QR code that you can scan at fox5atlanta.com/The Pulse. Someday I'm going to get these guys to be able to put it up there because I say it every day, and we need the QR code here on the screen. But if you need to find it and you want to weigh in, if you'd air your deep, dark, dirty secrets to ChatGPT, go to fox5atlanta.com/The Pulse, scan the QR code, let us know what you think, and we'll see you tonight at 7, Jasmine.
All right, Tom. That doesn't sound like a good idea there with ChatGPT, but thanks for sharing what's happening on tonight at The Pulse.
All right.
All right, thanks. Let's go ahead and get to a White House briefing here. We're going to pull that up. Caroline Levitt is taking some questions after the briefing, and we're going to figure out what's happening and what she's talking about.
Michael. Russia is reportedly joining Iran for joint naval exercises in the Gulf of Oman this week. Has the president issued any kind of warning to Russia or even China not to involve itself if the U.S. decides to strike Iran?
Not to my knowledge, no, or not that I would dictate from this podium. I wouldn't reveal the president's private conversations with world leaders. With respect to that, again, when it comes to Iran, the president has a decision to make, and he will do that, and I'm not going to broadcast what that decision may be ahead of him.
President Barack Obama, Caroline, was recently asked if aliens are real. He says they're real, but he hasn't seen them. The president's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, told Miranda Devine of the New York Post that the president has a prepared speech on this issue that he prepares to deliver at the right time. Is that true? And does the Trump administration believe aliens are real?
Well, a speech on aliens would be news to me. That sounds very exciting, though. I'll have to check in with our speech writing team. And that would be of great interest to me personally, and I'm sure all of you in this room, and apparently former President Obama, too. So we'll keep you posted on that. Tyler.
The White House has touted an unprecedented amount of cooperation with counties in Minneapolis after the negotiations with Tom Homan. Are those written verbal deals with the sheriff? How many have agreed to cooperate on immigration enforcement who previously refused to do so?
Yeah, the last time I spoke with Mr. Homan, which was just a few days ago, he assured us that nearly every single county in the state of Minnesota has agreed to notify ICE when they are releasing criminal illegal aliens from their jails. This is an unprecedented level of cooperation that we have not seen. It has led to not only cooperation to detain illegal aliens in Minnesota, which just this past week I have looked at the list. They've detained some very heinous people who none of you would want living in your communities, but has also led to a much more calm situation on the ground. We've also seen, and you've seen this with your own eyes play out, the local police and the state police have now cooperated in the arrests of left-wing agitators and criminals who are unlawfully obstructing immigration enforcement in their efforts. So this is a huge win, and again, the president sent Mr. Homan to Minnesota to do a job, and he has done it well, and I think the situation on the ground proves that.
Are those like written agreements that they've been signed by various officials in the state?
These are agreements that have been made by state and local officials in the federal government, and we are seeing that cooperation play out every single day. These counties are notifying ICE when they are releasing criminal illegals from their jail, and we do know that they are arresting left-wing agitators who are unlawfully impeding law enforcement. There's video to show that. Show it yourself. You can view it with your own eyes.
All right, that's Caroline Levitt there speaking with the press this afternoon, and we'll have more on that a little bit later today. Let's talk about what's happening at 2 p.m.
Yeah, Jasmine, busy day ahead. We're going to talk a little bit more about that incident that unfolded on a Delta flight. I also want to talk a little bit with our Deidre Dukes about how some faith leaders are rallying and what they're talking about this afternoon as it relates to elections. And we're also, of course, going to get back in the courtroom with Tyler Fingert, talk about the latest that's unfolding with the Colin Gray trial.
And that is important there. The Colin Gray trial has been happening for 3 days now. Testimony has been happening as well. We've heard from officers, from teachers. I know you've been listening in on it.
Yeah, it's really hard to hear so many of the emotional moments that happened September 4th, 2024. Reliving it is so hard for the people of the community and just the raw pain that they're going back to, but it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because it's definitely a precedent-setting case, so something that we're going to discuss here coming up at 2 o'clock.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming up here and sharing what's happening at 2.
Awesome, Jasmine. Thank you so much.
And you don't want to go anywhere. Stick around for 2 p.m. to hear those stories with our Ariel Onstadt. She has more coming up at 2 p.m.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thank you so much for being here at 2 o'clock. We've got a lot to cover today. So let's talk about an incident that unfolded on a Delta Airlines flight this morning. Delta said there's actually been no cockpit breach. We've seen a lot of this discussion on social media after initial reports may have suggested this, but rather Delta actually says that this Houston flight bound for Atlanta actually had a passenger altercation. There was unruly behavior on this flight 2557, and police responded at Hobby Airport, and a suspect was taken into custody. But ultimately, they say that this was something that was not a flight deck breach, and I'd like to let you listen to a passenger who was on board that plane.
On the flight, 30 minutes into it, I'm just sitting there, and a guy walks aggressively by me and aggressively back, and he bumps into my shoulder and starts completely wailing on my head. He punched me 3 times and then walked back and then started attacking another gentleman behind me.
Just an incredible situation to think about if you were in that man's shoes. But at this point, Delta issued an apology to its passengers for the unruly behavior. And of course, police are going to be investigating, as well as the FAA, to see how this unfolded. At the end of the day, we know that Delta declared an emergency for arrival, landed safely, and was met by law enforcement. So we'll keep you updated on this. But in the meantime, I want to continue here because testimony continues in the trial of Colin Gray, father of accused Appalachia High School shooter Colt Gray. And our Tyler Fingert has been in the courtroom all day today working to get information for us. Tyler, I know we've heard from a lot of people today, from investigators in this case, the former assistant principal for the school. Tell us what's happening.
Yeah, Ariel, good afternoon to you. We are on witness number 6 right now. I'm not sure if we have that live feed that we're able to take during our streaming newscast right now, but currently testifying is a GBI special agent. She is a crime scene tech who was on scene. She said it took 3 days to process Appalachia High School following that shooting in September 2024. And so right now she is currently on the stand. Just moments ago, I'm looking at a live feed on my computer screen here. I'm not sure if we have it up full for all of you guys to look at, but we are able to, just within the last couple of minutes, we were able to see inside the school. They were actually using this technology to be able to take the jurors kind of through the entire crime scene. It was like a visual representation of what happened, a rendering of sorts, and they were able to see a lot of evidence markers on the ground. They were taken into some of the classrooms. That is what was happening just within the last couple of minutes. I think now they're even showing pictures from inside one of the bathrooms, which is where I believe they say Colt Gray was getting ready for this attack back in September 2024. And so earlier we heard from that school administrator, as you said, Ariel. We also heard from deputies who stopped Colt Gray after the gunfire started. That assistant principal said she was notified by one of Colt's teachers earlier in the day that she was nervous about him after he asked about active shooter drills. The administrator also said the teacher shared how his backpack looked heavy and Colt had trouble handling it. Dee Martin testified she tried to track down Colt but had never met him, so she actually looked up a picture, and the only picture she could find of Colt Gray was an old 4th grade photo, which wasn't of much use to investigators and to the assistant principal and to the different officers and deputies who were there at the school resource officers. And so she went to the classroom with school resource officers where they thought Colt was, but they pulled the wrong student with a very similar name. They realized the mix-up a short time later, but couldn't find Colt because he had already asked to leave the classroom to go to counseling. And so they tried to use school cameras to track him down after he had left class. Let's take a listen to what that former assistant principal had to say.
Trying to find the student that you don't know what he looks like.
Correct.
What steps do you do to try and do that?
So we are trying to first get a visual of him when he left the classroom. So we were trying to nail down what time he left the classroom so we knew where to look on the cameras.
Okay.
and so they were not able to find him, as you just heard. A short time later, the gunfire started today. We also heard from the 2 Barrow County school resource officers who jumped into action. One of the deputies testified that they heard what sounded like a muffled snare drum, which he said turned out to be gunfire. Both deputies say they ran toward that sound. Take a listen to the deputy who actually handcuffed Colt.
We're coming down through here. I want to say somewhere in here, one of the victims was laying in the hallway. Because of the smoke and the dust and everything, I initially thought it was a duffel bag until I got close enough. Once we got pretty close to Colt, we were able to see that he was a student. The AR was down in front of him. He was compliant.
Yeah, and once they were able to take him into custody, they said that they found multiple full magazines in his pockets, clearly indicating that he was ready to continue more harm inside the school, according to those deputies. So they're glad that they were able to do that as quickly as possible, take him into custody. We obviously know 4 people were killed, 9 others wounded in this mass shooting at Appalachia High School in September 2024. And so if you've been listening through, for people joining us here on the 2 o'clock streaming hour, you probably heard I mentioned a lot about Colt Gray, the accused shooter, things like that. Well, this trial is for Colin Gray. That's his father. Basically, this whole thing centers on the fact that prosecutors say that he did not do enough to stop his son from doing this, and in fact gave him a weapon despite knowing he was a danger. He faces more than 24 charges here, and prosecutors are hoping to get a conviction here. The defense says, though, Colt hid this from everyone, including his father, and so he should not be held liable for what his son did. So 2 different sides here. Obviously, it's all playing out in court on day 3 so far of this multi-week trial.
Tyler, thanks so much for keeping us updated, distilling what's happened and what's unfolded in day 3. I know we expect this to take some time, and I'm sure you'll be the one to keep us updated throughout it all. We don't really have too much time for questions, Tyler, so very briefly, if you can, maybe just let me know what you have found. This is, I know, your first day in the courtroom. Anything that struck you as interesting, considering how often you've covered this story?
Oh, well, obviously, I mean, the fact that it is a very silent courtroom. I was noticing, having not been here the last 2 days, but noticing the jurors, they are sitting there, they are paying close attention to every bit of testimony. I truly think that who they were able to seat in this case, they will hopefully able to make the decision that they believe is right. Obviously, they need beyond a reasonable doubt to be able to convict, but if they feel that the father, Colin Gray, is not guilty, they seem like they're going to be ready to be able to make the decision once they hear all the evidence. So it was truly interesting to see them for the first time, and as they're obviously trying to hear some of this stuff or all of this stuff for the first time.
Tyler, thanks so much for sharing your perspective. I really appreciate it this afternoon. I'll let you get back into the courtroom. We've been watching a live feed, and it looks like they're showing images now of inside the hallway as this unfolded. So I'll let you get back to it, and we'll check back in with you, of course, as the afternoon progresses. Guys, as we continue here at 2 o'clock, I want to move on to a couple other stories we're following here in our Fox 5 newsroom. One of them deals with a Metro Atlanta teen who was actually arrested outside of the United States Capitol with a loaded shotgun. This is interesting because this teenager actually was caught running towards the Capitol with that loaded shotgun. And at the end of the day, authorities there, U.S. Capitol Police, are investigating this teenager's motive. But he was 18 years old from Smyrna, and he's been identified as Carter Camacho. He was taken into custody shortly after noon yesterday on the Lower West Terrace, and police say that he ran towards the Capitol with the firearm and was found to be wearing a tactical-style vest with multiple rounds of ammunition. Officers ordered him to drop the gun, and he complied, and after laying down his weapon, he then laid down on the ground to surrender. Bystanders were recording their incident on their cell phones, and police did draw their weapons when confronting Camacho, but ultimately ultimately, while he's now charged with unlawful activities like carrying a rifle without a license, unregistered firearm, and unregistered ammunition, we don't know what his motive is or why he was doing this, and we're waiting to get more information from police about this situation. I also want to let you know that police have arrested a person of interest in regards to that United States postal carrier who was shot and killed here recently. Absolutely tragic situation, and now police are releasing that they've arrested a person of interest in connection with his death. He was delivering mail in Decatur last week, and at this point, police are taking a look at what this person's motive could have been. Federal agents served a warrant yesterday night in the same neighborhood there in Decatur that this postal carrier was delivering mail at the time that he was killed. He's 31 years old. His name is DeQuavius Graves, and at this point, they're trying to figure out why he was gunned down on February 12th. So they executed a search warrant at that home in Decatur and ultimately arrested a person of interest. But we're trying to get more information as to whether or not they believe this person a suspect, whether or not this person has a motive, how this all relates. We're trying to get those answers for you guys. Finally here, I want to quickly update you on what Fulton County is doing, the latest efforts as it relates to that FBI raid on an elections facility here in Fulton County. Fulton County actually filed a motion yesterday demanding the immediate return of 700 boxes of seized election records related to the 2020 election. They filed that motion demanding the immediate return, and they say that the FBI actually relied on recycled conspiracy theories and omitted material facts in order to obtain that search warrant. Further, the NAACP is asking a judge to bar the government from misusing the seized voter data for immigration's enforcement. This legal challenge was filed in the U.S. District Court, and it argues that the FBI obtained that warrant without probable cause, a theory that they say that they relied on a theory that used speculative witness statements and ignored official reports that had already cleared the Fulton County of any intentional wrongdoing. So no doubt this is a story we're going to continue to keep you updated on as we progress here. But I want to switch gears as it relates and get out to our Deidre Dukes, because Deidre, I understand that some faith leaders are now calling for unprecedented voter mobilization. Why are they calling for this?
Yeah, those faith leaders held a news conference in Winder at the historic Barrow County Courthouse this morning. That was the location in part where they held that news conference because the state election board is meeting there right now today. The state election board actually meeting for the first time since last month's FBI raid, in which hundreds of boxes of documents and ballots in relation to the 2020 election were seized by federal agents. So this is the first time the state election board is meeting since that raid, and it's also the first time the state election board is meeting since there were calls by Republican State Senator Greg Dolezal for the state election board to take over Fulton County elections. So because of that, as you might imagine, there is just a lot of attention, a lot of focus on that meeting today. It began around 10 o'clock this morning, a very lengthy agenda because there's typically a lot of ground for the state election board members to cover in regards to elections challenges and issues of voter registration, things of that nature across the state. And so it will not simply be, if they do discuss Fulton County elections, it would not simply be the situation that occurred last month that would be discussed. Now, they do have some Fulton County elections business on the agenda today, scheduled for late this afternoon, and that is what they call old business, and where they'll be discussing, at least it's on the agenda, discussing subpoena. They had subpoenaed Fulton County elections in an effort to get those 2020 documents that were actually seized by the DOJ and FBI. They, of course, went to court also to obtain those documents, and Fulton County has been fighting that effort. DOJ also taking Fulton County to court. Fulton County fighting those efforts as well. Ultimately, the DOJ just going in with that FBI raid and seizing those documents. So that brings us to today, that meeting going on in Winder, and we have the faith leaders who were there outside the courthouse. They held a news conference. They are condemning the action by the FBI to seize those records, and they are calling on Georgia voters really to mobilize, to get out and to sign up people to vote, to get them registered to vote, and really for a massive effort to get people to register to vote, because they feel like they say democracy is at stake, that our voting rights are being threatened, and so they really are calling on Georgians across the state to act. And here's what they had to say.
Democracy is on the line. There was an unjustified raid of 700 ballot boxes representing the votes cast by citizens of Fulton County. I'm a property owner in Fulton County. I'm a taxpayer in Fulton County. I'm a voter in Fulton County. We want the Equal Protection Clause to apply to Fulton County just like it would apply to all the other counties in the state of Georgia. There were allegations after allegations. There were investigation after investigation. There was litigation after litigation, and none of it produced one scintilla of evidence to say that there was any wrongdoing in terms of the administration of the 2020 elections in Fulton County. Therefore, what we're dealing with is a witch hunt.
So again, Ariel, even though the business on the agenda that the board members are scheduled to discuss involves a previous effort to subpoena those documents, because this is the first time that the board is meeting since that raid, and also since Senator Dolezal has called for the state board to take over Fulton County elections, we do expect that there will be some discussion in regards to that, and so we're monitoring today's meeting very closely.
Deidre, thank you for the update. And, you know, I can tell you here within the last hour, I was listening in on the White House press briefing with Caroline Leavitt, and she actually was mentioning that the president is prepared to sign an executive order mandating voter IDs if legislation were to fail. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out. No doubt that if that executive order is issued, it will be challenged. But as we look at this, very curious to see what comes out of that meeting with the board today.
And of course, those who are holding today's news conference, those who held today's news conference, they did say, in their opinion, that this has nothing to do with the 2020 election, that they're actually looking ahead to the 2026 midterms, saying that this is an effort by those who are challenging the 2020 elections, who didn't like the outcome of the presidential election, to get ahead of the 2026 midterms by shaking things up here and putting Republicans at an advantage, Democrats at a disadvantage this go round.
Deidre, thank you for explaining, making sense of what unfolded today and clarifying. I appreciate your reporting as always. I'll let you get back to it, but thank you so much for keeping us informed. As we continue this afternoon, guys, I want to switch gears because I know so many of us have questions regarding the Epstein case and what is the latest regarding the release of the Epstein files. Are we going to see more investigations dealing with alleged co-conspirators in this case? And I can tell you this afternoon, or rather today, members of the House Oversight Committee actually went to Ohio to question the founder of Victoria's Secret in the investigation. Epstein handled the finances of 88-year-old billionaire Les Wexner, who founded Victoria's Secret, as well as a bunch of other companies under his company L Brands. He was never charged, but was named a co-conspirator in the recently unveiled 2019 FBI document. So we saw multiple representatives speaking about what they're trying to figure out today. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett from Texas is there, along with other representatives from the House Oversight Committee. And she was saying one thing that Epstein survivors and victims continue to tell lawmakers is to follow the money. They say at the end of the day, victims say at the end of the day, the money will lead them to people who are guilty in this case. So Representative Crockett was saying that's what they intend to do, and that's why they're in Ohio today. Take a listen.
Right now, in the middle of a deposition of Mr. Les Wexner. We are doing the deposition at his estate here. Right now, we are just now about 2 hours into that deposition. We are on a break, and we will be going back into the deposition for the rest of the afternoon. So to be very clear, we'll be providing an update now, but there are many, many questions that we have to ask of Mr. Wexner that are important to our investigation, so that questioning will happen throughout the day as this day moves forward. We're here because we want to talk to anyone that has information about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's crime, abuse, and trafficking of women and girls. There is no single person that was more involved in providing Jeffrey Epstein with the financial support to commit his crimes than Les Wexner. That is already, as we all know, in the public record. We've also directly heard from survivors about Mr. Wexner, about his involvement, and their concerns as to the enormous amount of money that was essentially transferred over and paid to by Mr. Epstein. To be very clear, we know of approximately over $1 billion, it looks like. It's about $1 billion that was either transferred, provided in stocks, or given directly to Mr. Epstein by Wexner. Now, it's important to note that Mr. Wexner appears to be unaware of much of the money, as he claims, that was given over to Mr. Epstein. In fact, it's interesting that Mr. Wexner has already begun to clarify in his mind that somehow he and Mr. Epstein weren't even friends. We should be very clear.
Representative Garcia goes on in this to talk more about what they are learning from Les Wexner in their deposition of him today, talking a little bit about Wexner recalling running into, or rather interactions regarding Epstein and President Donald Trump. He talked about a lot of other issues, and we'll continue to keep you updated as this investigation unfolds, as they take a closer look at Les Wexner, what he may or may not have known as it relates to Jeffrey Epstein. As we continue, you guys, we're going to get a check of your weather forecast here in Metro Atlanta. Meteorologist Alex Forbes is going to step up, and we are in for a shell shock. These warm temperatures we're enjoying, Alex tells me, enjoy them while you can. We're going to discuss. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt here with meteorologist Alex Forbes. And Alex, you say we're in for a bit of shell shock regarding these warm temperatures. Why?
I don't think it's very often that we have 77 and 29 on the same 7-day forecast.
It's not so.
Yes, it is so. And look, the 29 is going to be for the city. You get outside of 285, and we're going to be looking at some cold
Even
numbers.
colder.
Yeah,
All right, let's get into it.
All early next week. I tell you what, this afternoon feels pretty nice outside. It is overcast, but it is also warm. 68 right now, 63 up in Canton, 63 in Gainesville, 59 in Blairsville, and 72 over in Eatonton. I am expecting to add a couple more degrees, especially if we're able to see some more breaks in the clouds this afternoon. Our record high for today is 75. I don't think we're going to hit that. I've got about 72 as a high temperature. But you see, we are going to come close again Thursday, and our closest on Friday, forecasting a high temperature of 77 there, and our record high is 78. So technically, over the next 3 days, I'm not forecasting to break any records, but it's definitely in the realm of possibilities. As for the rest of the day today, you see we slide from the mid-60s back down into the low 60s, and it is going to remain cloudy. The sun is going to be few and far between here for the remainder of the afternoon. But look at this, 76 Thursday, 75 there for Friday. And then the bottom falls out. We get down to 47 as a high temperature by the time we get to Monday. Let's take a closer look at Friday, because I expect, actually, that's not Friday. Let's just keep on going. So here we go. Back to reality. 31 and 30 Monday and Tuesday here in the metro area. And we look at this a little closer. How about that? Monday morning. Yeah, getting down into the 20s and maybe even teens up there in Blairsville before all is said and done. And we do have rain on the way. So I've upped the rain chances a bit on Saturday, right? 40% Friday, 60% Saturday, but I also dropped them into Sunday. So we've got the Better 400 race on Sunday.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, that's the old name. What's the new name?
Oh.
The Auto Trader 400.
Auto Trader. Okay.
There we go.
You're more current than I am.
It was somewhere back in my brain. Anyway, race day on Sunday, Echo Park Speedway. It is going to be cooler, but it is going to be dry. Now, if you're camping out there, which a lot of people do through the weekend, you are going to be contending with rain Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
So that's something to keep in mind. Speaking of which, we are counting down the days, when are we not? 18 days from daylight saving time, 27 days until a little leprechaun's running around, and 30 days until the astronomers say spring begins. So here's your Fox 5 Storm Team's 7-day forecast. This your reminder that spring is not here. This is fake spring. 76 Thursday, 75 there for Friday, and then into the week ahead, back to regularly scheduled programming. We'll actually be below average Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I expect probably on Wednesday as well, before we're back to where we should be for the end of February by the end of the week.
Okay. Well, you know, Alex, I have to say, while I have been loving these 70-degree temperatures, in February, it does seem like maybe a bridge too far, especially when you start thinking about the pollen that's coming out.
Yeah.
So maybe this can cool things for just a little bit.
But speaking of which, our pollen count has been high again today, so that's 2 days in a row. This cool down will be a good, hard reset to that.
Right.
That hopefully will throttle it into March. If we keep getting warm and cool, warm and cool, warm and cool this drastically, the pollen season shouldn't be as bad. But if we warm up real quick and stay warm,
it'll be bad. Yeah. And
everything's
the
yellow.
lack of rain. Oh,
right.
Yeah. And for a bruising. All right. Thanks so much, Alex. I appreciate you. Guys, let's get a check of some international stories, because today we're learning a little bit more about where the United States and Iran show in talks. And at this point, they're showing some movement. Both nations held talks in Geneva yesterday. Progress has been slow. We've seen mixed messages from Iran, but President Trump says he's looking for a diplomatic fix here, backed by the threat of military action. Iran's state TV showed military exercises and saying the country, Iran, would shut off the critical Strait of Hormuz waterway, where a lot of the world's oil shipments flow through. They showed that show of force, if you will, while doing their talks with the United States. Iran's president says his country is not pursuing a nuclear weapon, and he actually said that ahead of talks with the United States on Monday. He also says he's going to accept, quote, whatever verification measures the United States requires in regards to Iran's nuclear weapon. Iran's foreign minister met Tuesday with Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner for those negotiations. And after that meeting, Iran's foreign minister says there's a clear path forward and both sides had agreed on guiding principles. But the next step is to work on text for a possible agreement, which would be more difficult. Vice President J.D. Vance described the talks with some of his tempered optimism. We do know the United States continues to amass firepower nearby, sending the world's largest aircraft carrier to the region, the USS Gerald Ford. One of President's red lines is Iran's development of nuclear weapons. And let's listen, actually. We have a little bit of time here. I want to let you listen in on what the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had to say about this today.
Ron, I'm not asking you for like military secrets here, but can you share?
Know I would be so unwise.
Unless you want to give them. Can you share a little bit about the president's thinking on whether or not to strike Iran, who he's talking to, what information he's consuming, and why a strike might be necessary on a nuclear program he says was obliterated by the last U.S. strike?
Well, there's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran. The president had a very successful operation as commander-in-chief with Operation Midnight Hammer, as you know, as you just said, totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. The president has always been very clear, though, with respect to Iran or any country around the world, diplomacy is always his first option, and Iran would be very wise to make a deal with President Trump and with this administration. He's talking to many people, of course, his national security team, first and foremost, and you know who the members of that team are, and this is something, obviously, the president takes seriously. He's always thinking about what's in the best interest of the United States of America, of our military, of the American people, and that's how he makes decisions with respect to military action of any kind.
And on the flip side of that,
so we'll continue to keep you updated. You can hear them talking a little bit about what the United States is considering in Iran. We'll keep you updated on the United States Special Envoy's talks with Iran and what comes out of it right here on Fox Local. But as we continue, we're going to go out to Tucson and check in with Fox's Asher Red. We want to see where the investigation into Nancy Guthrie's disappearance stands as we get new evidence about the lack of match for this DNA evidence in an FBI database. What are they considering next? We'll discuss. Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here. Investigators say they're now turning to a technology called genetic genealogy in order to find a suspect in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. Now, Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos says someone knew what they were doing when they kidnapped Guthrie from her home nearly 3 weeks ago. So I'd like to check in with Fox's Asher Red, who's been covering this story for us. And Asher, how are investigators taking a look at this DNA that they discovered inside of her home? Have they discovered any more?
Well, Ariel, just yesterday, the sheriff says that the DNA from a glove that was found about 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's house did not match the DNA found in her house, nor did it match any of the more than 19 million DNA profiles already in the FBI's national database. But investigators are saying that there's still other DNA in Nancy's home that can be tested.
The DNA on the glove that was found 2 miles away was submitted for CODIS, and I just heard that CODIS had no hits.
Is there a match on the DNA in the glove to the DNA, the unknown DNA that you found in the house?
There's no match to the DNA at the house.
So entirely separate DNA?
Correct.
Okay, so that would mean if there's no, is there a CODIS match from the DNA in the house?
No.
Investigators are also now trying to find a DNA match using something called forensic genetic genealogy. With this method, they'll upload the DNA profiles they've collected into public genetic databases, and it could potentially lead them to a suspect if someone related to Guthrie's kidnapper ever used an ancestry site like 23andMe or Ancestry.com. Now, meanwhile, at least 2 gun store owners in the Tucson area tell us that the FBI came to them last week with a list of names and photos. One of them says an agent showed him a 3-page list with each page having about 7 to 8 names on them.
FBI agent, he started asking me questions about if anybody had, well, he actually had given me a list, a paper list of people that had pictures and names on it, and he wanted to know if I could help him pull up in my system if any of these people have purchased a gun in the last year.
And the sheriff denies any knowledge of that list, but he still believes that Nancy's disappearance could be targeted kidnapping, and he insinuates that she could still be alive. Ariel?
Yeah, no doubt, Asher. We really hope at the end of the day that Nancy is alive and that she's okay. I know that we're getting a bigger picture because of the publicity of this case into genetic genealogy and what it can do. Have we seen this actually unlock other cases using this kind of technology?
Well, Ariel, most recently you might remember the Brian Kohberger case, the Idaho murders, where genetic genealogy was used to track him down, to identify him as that suspect. So that's one of the more recent times that this type of technology and this type of science has been used.
Really interesting. Asher, no doubt you'll continue to keep us updated as we get new information. Appreciate your time in reporting today, and I'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much. As we continue this afternoon, I want to let you know where we stand with some other stories, maybe a little bit closer to home. One thing that the Georgia legislature is considering is making ivermectin available over the counter. And as you might imagine, some critics are warning of risks in this. So I'd like to get out to Health Beat's Rebecca Grapevine to talk about this and make sense of it. So Rebecca, first of all, thanks so much for being with us live.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here.
So, Rebecca, first question to set the stage. For those who are unfamiliar, what is ivermectin? I mean, hearing that term just brings me right back, I feel like, to COVID days, 2020. Make sense of it for us.
Well, ivermectin is a drug that's been around since the 1970s, actually, and it was first discovered and used as an anti-parasitic drug in animals. And there are some uses for it in humans. However, that's typically in diseases that we don't find very often here in the United States, like river blindness. So it has been used in humans and animals, and it's been around for a long time.
So tell me about this bill that would make this available over the counter. Why are lawmakers considering this?
Yes, so Representative Karen Mathiak, a Griffin Republican, brought this bill, and she said that constituents have asked her for this bill because they want to take ivermectin either for COVID or cancer. There are rumors circulating on social media saying that this drug can help treat either COVID or cancer. And she said she knows people who even purchase this drug at farm supply stores like Tractor Supply to take for human use. So the State House held a hearing on the bill in a committee. However, they didn't actually vote on the bill, so it may be stalled out for the minute.
Interesting that, we see, of course, lawmakers propose things all the time. Interesting to see this coming forward. And you say it's stalled, so we're not really sure what the timeline could be in terms of whether or not this would pass or fail or what the next steps are. Do you know what could be next for this bill, if there's anything lawmakers have scheduled regarding it?
Nothing scheduled so far, but I will say in Georgia politics is all politics, anything can happen. And I would also point out that 4 other states have adopted a similar bill, including southern states like Tennessee and Arkansas. So I don't want to say, it's over till the fat lady sings. But I spoke to several scientists about what they thought about this bill and whether they thought it would be a good idea to do this. And they both said they didn't think it was a great idea because the drug can be harmful if you don't take it correctly with a doctor's supervision.
And Rebecca, to your point, I see in your reporting, you've kind of looked at this when talking to some doctors who say there's just not enough evidence clinically for the FDA to be able to prove this as a medication for COVID. So it'll be interesting to see if, maybe there would be some clinical trials related on the interest that this has generated. But ultimately, it sounds like what doctors and scientists are saying is that approving this before those trials and more data, it could pose risks for people.
Absolutely. One doctor I spoke to said, if you take this for too much or it interacts with certain drugs, sure, you could have vomiting and diarrhea, but you could have symptoms all the way up to, seizures and even potentially death. So doctors say, we'd rather be involved with you in your medical decision making so that we can keep an eye on you than have people just going out and buying this drug over the counter and being able to take it sort of willy-nilly. So, and you're right, the clinical approval process for drugs, as we all know, is very long and thorough. And, this drug hasn't been through that process for these diseases, for COVID and cancer. And it could even deter people from getting the treatments they really need if they have COVID or cancer.
Rebecca, always appreciate our conversations. And for those of you streaming along with us, listening on the radio, you can find more of Rebecca's reporting on healthbeat.org. So, Rebecca, thanks so much for keeping us updated on what's happening here in our state. I always appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ariel. See you soon.
Okay, guys, let's continue. I want to tell you about a landmark social media trial that is unfolding here in the United States. And this week, Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, is actually set to testify. And it would be the first time that Zuckerberg actually is forced to answer questions on social media safety in front of jurors. We know that this 20-year-old woman is suing tech giants, claiming she became addicted to social media at a young age, and using it only made her depression and suicidal thoughts worse. So TikTok and Snapchat have already settled out of court, leaving Meta and Google's YouTube to be the last 2 defendants in this case. A California jury of 12 is going to decide whether to force major changes in how social media apps operate. And that's the reason why this is a landmark trial here in California, because it could change how we all use social media. A Meta spokesperson says the company disagrees with these accusations and they are committed to supporting young people. No doubt we'll keep you updated as Mark Zuckerberg testifies in that court. If we're able to bring his testimony to you, we will do so. As we continue, you guys, we're going to go out and check in with our Eli Jordan about a new fire station that is opening in Henry County, what this is going to mean to the community coming up next. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for being here live with us. Something exciting is happening in Henry County this afternoon, and our Eli Jordan's going to tell us all about it. So, Eli, I understand there is a groundbreaking going on. Why is this significant to the community?
Hey, good afternoon, Ariel. Yeah, this is significant to the Hampton area and for Henry County because fire station number 5 was over in Hampton, and then that building was not structurally sound after, it got inspected. So they said, all right, we got to move, but we also need to build a new fire station number 5. And Henry County is growing. They're going to be building a lot more over the next few years. But right now I am with Henry County Fire Chief Pat Wilson. Hey, Chief Wilson, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
And so tell me, first of all, why is today important and how excited are you today?
Warmth. Thank you all for carrying this, and I am super excited. This is very important for the Hampton community. It's very important for Henry County that we get this fire station back in the sight of our community, and having this future location right here is going to be great right here at Georgia 20 and McDonough Street. It's going to give us access to so much more, not only City of Hampton, but also gives us coverage in our other unincorporated portions of Henry County.
And this is coming from SPLOST. You're using about, what, $4.5 million?
About $4.5 million. This is going to allow us to build this fire station. So we're very thankful to our community for voting for SPLOST, because with that allows us to be able to do projects like fire stations in Henry County, buy fire station equipment, things like that. And then understanding that it's not only local money, but it's also anybody that visits Henry County. So we're very thankful for SPLOST.
And so this is set to be wrapped up in spring of next year.
Spring of next year, that's correct.
But also, too, you got some others on the books ready to go, right?
Absolutely. So we'll be building Fire Station 17, or EMS Station 17 there in McDonough, sometime probably starting this year. We also have Fire Station 18 and 19 that will be on the books over the next couple of years.
And Henry County Fire, they cover more than just the county. They cover, the municipalities that are inside the county. Right?
Absolutely. So we're responsible for City of Hampton, Locust Grove, Stockbridge. We also partner with the City of McDonough Fire Department, great partner through Automatic Aid. So we help each other out there in the City of McDonough, and then they help us out in some portions of the unincorporated county.
Awesome. Chief Wilson, thank you so much for your time today. Ariel, that's what's happened. They had the groundbreaking at 1 p.m. today. They had the shovels out. They tossed the ceremonial big first shovel of dirt, and they're going to have fire station number 5 coming out here. They're going to be laying the foundation, having it going right here at the corner of State Road 20 and McDonough Street in Hampton, and they're going to be also building some more all throughout the county. Fire station number 17, 18, and 19 will be coming up, thanks to SPLOST, which is a voter referendum of a sales tax of 1 cent to help fund projects such as building new fire stations here in Henry County. Ariel, back to you.
Yeah, Eli, really interesting to get a look. I appreciate you bringing this to us live. It's so important, especially in some of these more rural communities. Fire stations are the lifeblood, and when things happen, sometimes fire stations, fire trucks can go assist with emergencies that are many miles away. It's not densely populated like an urban area, so it's so crucial that these firefighters are in place and have the tools they need to succeed there on the ground. So, Eli, thanks so much for bringing this to us, letting us see what's going to happen there. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you again here at 3 o'clock. As we continue, you guys, I want to let you know a little bit more about something else happening here in the state of Georgia. Our Chris Rosenthal went out to see how women are shaping the future of agriculture here in the state of Georgia, specifically a female dairy farmer. Check it out.
Well, I'm at the Guthrie Dairy Farm in Madison, Georgia, where they have about 1,100 Holstein cows producing about 12,000 gallons of milk every single day. Quite a lot, and they do it sustainably. But one of the really cool things about this farm, it is run by Megan Clark. She is a 4th-generation dairy farmer here. And so I spoke with Megan just about what that means to her and to her business and some of her successful sustainability efforts here. How far back in your family does this farm run?
So we are 4th generation.
4th generation, that is a long time, and you've taken over recently. And so tell me, 2026, it is the International Year of the Woman Farmer. What does that mean?
I think it's exciting that this year's been named the International Year of the Woman Farmer to really spotlight how many women are in ag. So many more women are in ag than people realize outside of the industry. Here, veterinarians, nutritionists, chopper operators, I mean, there's a woman in every position.
Absolutely. Not just running a farm, of course. There's a lot of different ways women can get involved. What are some of those ways? If there's maybe some young girls watching this or somebody that wants to get involved in the ag industry?
Yeah, so there's excellent youth programs, 4-H, FFA, even if you don't have a farming background, that way people can get involved.
This is Kyler Johnson. Tell me this area here that we are in now. What happens here?
Yeah, so this is the milking parlor. This is the place on the farm where the cows are brought in from the free stalls from their house and brought in here, and this is where the milk is let down by the cow and is collected and stored into a tank so we can sell it to the consumers.
So we talk about milking a cow. This is where that happens.
That's correct. This is where the actual milk is harvested, collected from the cow, and chilled and brought to a processor to be processed for human consumption.
One of the things I learned about this farm, you guys just got a sustainability assessment, and you're carbon neutral. What does that mean, and what does it take to get that?
So they talk about carbon neutral and sustainability. It's talking about using your resources and not wasting resources. And so we found out we were neutral here, which means we don't necessarily negative or positive. But the biggest thing here is sustainability is the amount of milk that we gain per cow. So we've almost doubled the milk we can get from a cow through certain areas: cow comfort, nutrition, and genetics. And so those are the three biggest things we've been able to use to get more milk per cow, which makes us more sustainable in the industry today.
And another way that this farm is enhancing its sustainability efforts is through this feed, for example. It comes from local byproducts, including byproducts from beer making, on an effort for Megan's farm to become carbon neutral, and not just carbon neutral, carbon negative. Back to you.
Chris, thanks so much for taking us out to the farm this afternoon. Really neat to see what happens here on a lot of Georgia's dairy farms, and especially one here in our state owned by a female powerhouse. So really unique to see that. As we continue, I want to continue with some Georgia news because this is interesting and could be good for your wallet. Georgia Power actually could trim electric bills this summer, and that's because Georgia Power says a new filing is going to lower costs for customers. The savings might not be enough for you to really notice, but the average decrease would be about $1.32 for residential customers. They filed this 1% rate decrease with the Public Service Commission, and it could take effect in June. And lower fuel prices are expected to offset this, the $912 million in storm repair costs, largely from Hurricane Helene. But this is something we'll continue to keep you updated on if anything changes or there's something else you need to know. But $1.32, not that much money, but hey, listen, every little bit helps, right? So as we continue too, I want to let you know about a situation unfolding in California. In case you heard about that avalanche, this is a really dire situation because more than a dozen skiers are still missing. They disappeared Tuesday in California, and authorities say that 16 of these skiers encountered an avalanche in the Castle Park area of Truckee. This is near Lake Tahoe, and they say at least 6 people from the group are still in an avalanche awaiting rescue, while the other 10 are unaccounted for. Rescuers are making their way to the 6 survivors who've been directed to shelter in place the best they can in these conditions, and officials say there are 46 emergency first responders actively working in the search, and weather conditions remain highly dangerous. If we hear anything differently about the status on these missing skiers, we'll let you know. But something else that should concern all of us as it relates to air pollution, there's new research coming out showing that being exposed to air pollution may contribute to developing or may contribute to having a higher risk for Alzheimer's disease. A study conducted by Emory University actually looked at around 28 million Medicare recipients aged 65 years and older over nearly 2 decades. And researchers looked at a person's exposure to air pollution, basically the level of exposure that they've had. and whether or not they developed Alzheimer's disease, while making note of any chronic conditions they were also experiencing. Now, it's important to note they determined greater exposure to air pollution did increase the risk of Alzheimer's. That association was stronger for those who'd experienced a stroke, but depression and hypertension had little additional impact. Researchers determined that air pollution impacted Alzheimer's disease mostly through direct pathways rather than through other chronic conditions. They concluded that improving air quality is going to help or could help with dementia in older patients, and the findings appear in the journal PLOS Medicine if you'd like to check it out for yourself. But this is especially unique, especially when we look at greenhouse gases and what's being done to curb air pollution, because this is one condition that researchers at Emory University say could be related. As we continue here, I want to let you know that the IRS is also saying, I want to know if you've gotten your tax return back yet, because the IRS is saying that tax returns are higher this season and more Americans are getting more money back. The latest filing data released Friday shows taxpayers are getting close to $2,300 in their returns, an increase of over 10% from last year's filing season. Data also shows this filing season is having a slow start, with only 7.5% or so filing as of February 6th, which is a decrease from last year. The number of refunds has declined. The total amount refunded has risen almost 2%, from $7 billion to almost $17 billion. So curious, if you've gotten your return back this year, do you feel like you're getting more money? I feel like it's always nice, Tom, when I see a bigger return, but you know, sometimes it just depends.
I don't know what it is. My taxes are finished. They're sitting on my computer in TurboTax, and I'm not hitting send. It's like, what's the problem? I'm always afraid that I'll hit send and then I'll get another
There'll be something
in the mail is going to come. And anyway,
and you know, the longer you put it off, the greater chance somewhere in your irrational brain you think, you know, that number could go higher.
Exactly. Yeah. You just want to wait until the last minute.
Yeah.
But
what's coming up at 3?
Filing our taxes in a timely manner is always a good thing.
It is.
Ariel, coming up all new at 3 o'clock. We just got an update, actually breaking news on those skiers out in California.
Yeah.
Some devastating news out of California. They found a number of them dead in that avalanche. So we're going to have the very latest on that coming up as we take a look at pictures from what is happening out there. Boy, they are having some miserable weather with fatal consequences in this case for those skiers. The latest coming up from the Nevada County Sheriff's Office here at 3 p.m. Also, you heard about that Delta Airlines flight from Houston to Atlanta. There was an unruly passenger on board that flight, apparently, and there was some conflicting information as to whether that passenger tried to breach the cockpit, something you never like to hear about. But Delta is clarifying information. Our Eric Perry is on top of that story. He's going to join us here on set at the top at 3 to tell us more about exactly what happened here and the status of that flight. Plus, a check of our weather with meteorologist Jonathan Stacy as we cross midweek here and start to look ahead into the weekend, Ariel.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. We got the 3 o'clock hour coming up for you guys. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for being here. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us here on the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines, joined by Fox 5's Eric Perry. Eric, you're following a story involving a Delta Airlines plane that was on its way from Houston to Atlanta, and now we're getting clearer information on what happened on board that flight. Reports first of a breach into the cockpit.
Yeah.
Now we're getting some better information as to exactly what happened here.
Yeah, thankfully that no one made it inside of that cockpit there. That is that flight as it's leaving for the second time heading to Atlanta. So around 5 o'clock this morning, we were told that someone started yelling on this flight and started punching. We talked with a man. This is some video there from that flight, and you can see the gentleman right there having some sort of an episode. We believe he was having a mental episode there. He reaches over and then he starts punching several different individuals. So we talked with one man who says that he was asleep around 5 o'clock this morning after the plane took off. The next thing he knows, he's getting hit in the head several times. We also talked with a woman who says this man fell on her. So apparently he was walking up and down the aisles, talking and shouting to different people. They say that he had at one point asked to speak with the pilot. You can just see the struggle. The lady in the purple is a flight attendant there. So about 7 different men jumping up on this plane, and we're told had to restrain him. They used zip ties, and at one point had to sit on him as well. So we talked with the woman who shot this video. Her name is Amber Ward. The other man who was attacked, he says in this video, and this is some, they returned back to Houston airport there this morning, and of course they declared an emergency. You can see them restraining that man, one person sitting on him. We're going to listen to Josh Lamassis. He was one of the people that says he was attacked, and I believe this is when they were leading that man off of the flight. Let's listen together.
30 minutes into it, I'm just sitting there, and a guy walks aggressively by me and aggressively back, and he bumps into my shoulder and starts completely wailing on my head. No words, no nothing. I've never seen the gentleman in my life. He started screaming at the guy behind me and kind of like in tongues, and then everyone assumed that he was just kind of not mentally there. So
I was getting ready to close my eyes, and I looked up. The guy who punched another guy, and he was a couple seats in front of me, and then he stumbled and fell in my seat next to me, and I was so scared, so I just put my feet up and just started punching everybody. And before that, he was trying to go to the cockpit. He was saying he wanted to speak to the pilot.
All right, so that second lady, she lives in Houston, traveling to Atlanta. The man, he lives in Atlanta and was traveling from Houston there. I did speak with Houston police. As of right now, no charges have been filed. They said they took the man for a psych eval there, mental evaluation after that episode there on the plane. But the good news here, no serious injuries. People, got knocked in the head, allegedly, and were hit in the head by this man here, but no serious injuries there, and thankfully they were able to return. So of course they went back to Houston. After about 2 hours, they were able to fly and land around 9:45-ish here at Hartsfield Jackson. But just scary moments. You think you're going to get your cookies and your ginger ale, as I like to get on my Delta flights, and this happens, and so early in the morning, 5 o'clock. But again, the good news is no one was seriously injured, and they said that everyone really, I think, teamwork here, jumped in, the passengers, the men there on the plane, trying to make sure that nothing else happened. So just in those situations, people stepping in to do what they can to help the others on the plane.
He's a huge dude.
Yeah, he's not a light one over there.
No, and when he was looking at that flight attendant, his eyes were like bulging out, like something was going on in his head.
And I think that's why a lot of the passengers we talked with, while scary situation, they gave him a little grace, because they're just something appeared to be going on mentally with them. So
yeah, but super scary. And I think, I'm just thinking about like our post 9/11 mentality. When, passengers are now people who step in situations like this and take control of a situation.
You just never know.
Could have gotten out of control.
Yeah, you just never know.
I mean, there was enough people on that flight to subdue that guy. Obviously, as you said, he was taken into custody. He's going to be checked out. But that could have been a very, very dangerous situation. Thankfully, nobody got seriously injured.
And just a quick little fact here, FAA spokesperson says around 1,500 to 1,600 incidents like this happened with unruly passengers last year alone.
Wow, incredible. Eric, great interviews. Thanks for the latest. Also in the news here at 3 o'clock, we are getting new information on an 18-year-old Atlanta teenager who was arrested outside the United States Capitol on Tuesday Police say that Carter Camacho was caught running toward the Capitol with a loaded shotgun. You saw that image just a couple of seconds ago. Authorities are still investigating Camacho's motive. Why was he running up the steps of the Capitol with that shotgun? Camacho allegedly ran toward the Capitol with the firearm and was found to be wearing a tactical-style vest with multiple rounds of ammunition. Question is, what would he have done if not apprehended by Capitol Police? After laying down the weapon, Camacho then lay on the ground to surrender. Police did draw their weapons when confronting Camacho, but again, a very, very scary situation at the United States Capitol. Authorities have arrested a person of interest, they are calling, in connection to the death of that U.S. postal worker in Decatur. It's a story that we covered here on the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. DeQuavius Graves was gunned down while delivering mail in Decatur back on February the 12th. You heard from his heartbroken, devastated mother here yesterday. The suspect was arrested in Atlanta, we understand. However, the FBI and other law enforcement agencies searched a home on Oxford Drive where the shooting happened last night, which is connected to the suspect, according to police. Graves was gunned down, as I said, on the 12th in the 2700 block of Oxford Drive near Flat Shoals Road just before 7 p.m. while delivering mail. Fulton County has filed a motion demanding the immediate return of 700 boxes of seized 2020 election records. Officials allege that the FBI relied on recycled conspiracy theories and omitted material facts to obtain the search warrant. The NAACP asking a judge to bar the government from misusing seized voter data for immigration enforcement. The county called the federal search warrant used by the Department of Justice a callous disregard for constitutional rights. Fulton County officials allege the warrant, unsealed and served on January the 28th, is unprecedented in American history. As we continue here, are we going to Asher Red next? We're going to get the latest in the Nancy Guthrie missing person investigation. Nancy Guthrie, of course, the mother of Savannah Guthrie, the anchor of the NBC News Today show. It's a story that we've been following here since it happened more than 2 weeks ago. The question is, what happened to Nancy Guthrie? Investigators are focusing on DNA evidence from evidence that they've collected along the way, not only in front of Nancy Guthrie's house, but a glove that has been collected as well. Let's get out to Asher Red in Tucson for us with the latest on this remaining DNA evidence. Asher, is it giving investigators any more clues as to what might have happened here?
Well, good afternoon. The sheriff says that the DNA found on gloves that were about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house does not match the DNA found inside her house, nor does it match the more than 19 million existing DNA profiles in the FBI's national database. But investigators say there's still other DNA found in her home that should be tested.
The DNA on the glove that was found 2 miles away was submitted for CODIS, and I just heard that CODIS had no hits.
Is there a match on the DNA in the glove to the DNA, the unknown DNA that you found in the house?
There's no match to the DNA at the house.
So entirely separate DNA?
Correct.
Okay, so that would mean if there's no, is there a CODIS match from the DNA in the house?
No.
Investigators are also now trying to find a DNA match using something called forensic genetic genealogy. And with this method, they'll be able to upload the DNA profiles that they've collected into a public genetic database, and it could potentially lead them to a suspect if someone related to Guthrie's kidnapper ever used an ancestry site like 23andMe or Ancestry.com. Meanwhile, at least 2 gun store owners in Tucson tell us that the FBI came to them last week with a list of names and photos. One of them says an agent showed him a 3-page list with each page having about 7 to 8 names on it.
FBI agent, he started asking me questions about if anybody had, well, he actually had given me a list, a paper list of people that had pictures and names on it, and he wanted to know if I could help him pull up in my system if any of these people have purchased a gun in the last year.
And the sheriff denies any knowledge of that list, and he still believes that Nancy Guthrie's disappearance is a targeted kidnapping, and he insinuates that she could still be alive. Back to you.
Asher, Fox News broke on its app just a couple of minutes ago that the FBI is reaching out to authorities in Mexico in relation to the Nancy Guthrie case. The sound that you played from national correspondent Jonathan Hunt in his interview with the Pima County Sheriff, the sheriff saying that they don't believe Guthrie was taken to Mexico, yet it's odd that their investigation would span south of the border. For what reason, I guess, we just don't know.
Yeah, we've seen ransom notes mentioning activity south of the border, and of course those ransom notes have to be checked for authenticity and to make sure they're legit or not just internet trolls. But yeah, you're right. The sheriff's department does say that they believe whoever did this is local to the Tucson area, but it does seem that the FBI might be reaching out south of the border to search any leads they possibly can to find Nancy Guthrie.
All right, you are close to the Mexico border there, 930 miles down there. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up as investigators continue their search. Asher Red live for us in Tucson, Arizona. Asher, thanks. Getting more information on the trial of Colin Gray, the father of the accused Appalachia High School shooter, as jurors heard from both school administrators and a school resource officer about the moments leading up to that attack. Let's listen to part of what happened in the courtroom today.
September 4th.
Okay.
So you are in the atrium with Deputy King. What happened while you were there?
We got.
He and I were standing there again discussing Bible study after we'd kind of spoken about the very limited information we had at the time. There was a group of students with like the big pickle jars type things, and they were kind of tapping on those, and then we ended up kind of hearing like a tap, tap, tap. The best way I could kind of describe that would be like a muffled snare drum type sound is what it kind of sounded like at the time. I remember King and I both looked at each other for a split second and then went down the hall toward what we rightly assumed at that point was gunfire.
Okay. And did y'all attempt to go in the direction where the gunfire was coming from?
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the things we trained to do.
And tell me what happened as y'all are running towards the gunfire.
So do you want me to indicate where we were running down? Or?
Yeah, if you want to indicate first, and then you can sit back down after.
Sure. So, I don't want to block anything, I'm sorry. That's better for the jurors. So we're here in the atrium, and we hear everything, and so we start heading down this hall here to what we would refer to as a T intersection, because it makes a T. As we're coming down this way, as I recall, I got on the radio to let dispatch and other units know that we had an active shooter at Appalachia High School, and we just continued to that T intersection. Do you want me to continue with?
Yes, go ahead.
Once we got to this T intersection, there was a slight pause as we're listening, because there was a brief moment where we didn't hear gunfire, and so we're trying to orient and see which direction to go, because again, you have two options. Then we round the corner, and when we make the turn and turn right down the hall, Deputy King and I are presented with a lot of smoke and dust in the hallway. The concussion from the AR firing and the drop ceiling, as best as I can understand, I'm not an engineer or anything like that, but the dust and everything shook down, making it very hard to see. All I could make out was a like darker black silhouette in the smoke toward the end of the hall. It's actually, he was backlit because this exterior door here, you had sunlight coming in. We're down here when we first make the turn, and we end up making contact with them around in here where these bathrooms are. As we're coming down through here, I want to say somewhere in here, one of the victims was laying in the hallway. Because of the smoke and the dust and everything, I initially thought it was a duffel bag until I got close enough. Once we got pretty close to Colt, we were able to see that he was a student. The AR was down in front of him. He was compliant. We were able to get him down while Deputy King covered him with lethal cover. I proceeded to handcuff him and do a search and pat down for weapons and anything else. While doing that, I was able to take multiple full magazines for the AR-15 out of his pockets and kind of secure those out of the way. And then, as I recall, the next steps were to let dispatch and the other deputies know what we had, where we were at, and what we needed so we could start responding to everything else that was going to need to be addressed after.
So as you indicated, as you round the corner, you saw a black silhouette.
Yes, ma'am.
What did y'all, at that point, did you know it was who y'all presumed was the shooter?
No, ma'am.
What did y'all say as you round the corner and saw that?
Show us your hands, get on the ground, drop the weapon, all things that we practice and trained to say. Again, at that point, we didn't know if it was a student, we didn't know if it was a staff member or teacher, and we didn't know if it was the shooter. We were purely going and trying to make contact with whoever it was in the hallway so we could make an assessment of where to go from there. As y'all
continued to run down the hallway, did y'all know if he had dropped the gun at that point?
No, ma'am. Again, we could not see.
So y'all are basically just running in blind?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you take him into custody and you search him and you take out the magazines. At that point that you are telling dispatch, hey, this is what we need, what do you start doing?
I'm on the radio saying that we need to shut down the front from like Tom Miller down to like not quite to Carl Bethlehem, but like over by Kendall Park, so that we can get med teams in and that kind of stuff. I let them know that we had one in custody, that we don't know if there's any other shooters. I have no idea how many are wounded. I have one in the hallway that I'm unsure if there's anything that we can do for, and I'm not exactly sure how I phrased that at the time. And at that point, we're just kind of holding the hallway because it was just King and I at that moment having to hold. So we're having to hold here, which is terrible to try and do with two people. Because again, we don't know, we don't know if there's any additional threats at the time. So we're having to try and hold, and we have to keep control of Colt, and we're responsible for him at that point once we took him into custody. Excuse me. A short time, and it felt like a long time, but a short time later, Deputy Cook responded from Heyman Morris, and he helped us hold things until additional units got there.
And were additional units there pretty quickly?
Yes, ma'am. I would say that they were there very quickly. I do recall the colonel, sheriff, Jeremy, one of the firefighter guys, with one of our RTF teams, got there very quickly, and they were in there and they started working through and triaging and figuring out who needed assistance and things, so we were able to get people out pretty quickly.
And RTF, does that stand for Rescue Task Force?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So when more individuals get there, more law enforcement get there, and you're no longer having to hold kind of the scene with the shooter, what did you do?
So at that point, we were going to have to systematically sweep the school and check the condition of everybody and start evacuation processes. As SROs, all of us in the unit have universal keys that work for all the school buildings. So when we started forming the teams up to go, I had a set of keys. So I started going and clearing with a group of some of our guys, but we had so many people that responded from all over the state. So we had people from Gwinnett and Commerce and
Sergeant Donovan Boyd of the Barrow County Sheriff's Office offering riveting testimony of the day the shooting happened at Appalachia High School, saying how he was trying to clear the school after that suspect had been captured. This is the trial of Colin Gray. He is the father of Colt Gray, and he's on trial for knowingly providing his son access to a weapon, knowing, according to prosecutors, that he had mental deficiencies, putting those students in the line of fire on that fateful day. We heard from people who were inside that school yesterday in this trial. We heard from one witness, a student who had actually been shot, and she recalled the moments when she called her mother. She was able to call her mother because she happened to have her cell phone in her backpack, lying next to a friend who had been shot and killed in that attack. She said she felt a warm sensation on her leg, and it is at that moment that she realized she had been shot. But this testimony today from Sergeant Donovan Boyd of the Barrow County Sheriff's Office as to the events surrounding that school shooting. Again, Colin Gray, the father of Colt Gray, day 3 of testimony in the trial of that father, which we are at and we will continue to cover here. When we come back, meteorologist Jonathan Stacy standing by with a look at our forecast as we cross midweek here and head into the weekend. Cloud cover all day today, despite earlier in the week when we were enjoying warmer temperatures and sunshine outside. Let's take a live look, a pretty picture of the CDC for you right now, and you can see what I'm talking about. Just overcast, not any rain out there to speak of today, but Jonathan is going to tell us the timing of when we're expecting rain to move in as we continue. Welcome back, everybody. So happy you're with us today. Tom Haynes, joined by meteorologist Jonathan Stacey. Jonathan, you've been watching the weather all week. It's been a really nice week, kind of up until this point, and it's not even a bad day out there today. It's just kind of overcast as we make a little bit of a transition here.
Yeah, the thing is, you go outside and you're like, okay, what's up with the skies?
Yeah.
But then you're like, okay, what am I feeling and how long is this going to last? Because it's quite warm outside by mid-February standards. However, this thick deck of clouds is drawing a stark contrast into what we enjoyed yesterday. With plenty of sunshine, the clouds have moved in, and they're going to be a common occurrence as we go through really the remainder of the work week into the weekend. So we're going to have to peek through the clouds to find some sunshine, but sun will be a part of the forecast, just not the big deal.
Right.
So in terms of the temperature in the here and now, let's take a look at radar first. There's nothing to see here. It looks like a spritz or sprinkle abiding somewhere over central and south Paulding County. We'll also throw Carroll in the mix as well, but nothing aggressive as the skies or the clouds would suggest. It's just kind of a dark and dim, menacing look to a degree. Alex Forbes earlier said it kind of looks like a day in which we're preparing for severe weather to come through. And I would agree with that, because not only are we experiencing a warm up in terms of temperatures, but the dew points are climbing as well. So it feels a bit sticky in the air. Temperatures out east have managed to climb to 70 degrees and even exceeding that there in Eaton. The current temperature is 72. Meanwhile, we're trying to get there in Atlanta, but with that thick deck of clouds above, it is hard for the temperature to climb any higher, any faster. So we have a flow in out of the south and the west, and that will continue to boost and aid in our very unusual warm-up for this time of the year, but it's just going to be a close call to see if we can actually make it to 70 degrees. We were fairly optimistic in the Fox 5 Storm Center, hoping that we could reach a high of 72 degrees. It doesn't look like it's in the cards for us. The time now is 3:28, so it probably isn't going to happen. But if we were to land at 72 degrees for a high temperature, that would be 13 degrees above today's average high, which is 59 degrees. That's as warm as we should typically get on a mid-February day. However, it feels more like early April. The first week of April generally carries with it a temperature somewhere between 71 and 73 degrees. So over the next couple of days, we'll keep our eyes on the mercury just to see if we're going to come close to kissing a record or tying a record or potentially breaking a record. However, with the new forecast models coming in, I have pulled the temperature down a bit in the forecast department. So 76 is what I'm looking at for tomorrow. The current record stands at 78 degrees set back in 1891. That would be a great one to at least tie. I would love to break it. And there is the potential that we could actually outdo ourselves on that forecast high temperature as a result of the strength of the winds out of the south and the west. Now, Friday is going to be kind of a day of transition. We're going to start out with some shower activity, some heavier downpours during the first part of the day. Then a front's going to move through during the midday period. And that front will clear the area. It won't bring in cold air, but it will bring in drier air that could possibly cool us down on the back of winds out of the north and the west. So if that is the deal, we'll be climbing throughout the day. The temperature will be around 68, 69 degrees. I think we can get into the 70s on the backs of sunshine, but the winds will be blowing in from a cooler direction. The current record temperature for Friday stands at 78 degrees as well. It will be nice to knock on some records, but overall, you can see here, the big picture is showing us that while the temperatures are up, the rain chances are going up appreciably for Friday and Saturday. A rumble of thunder can't be ruled out for Saturday. Temperatures will start to slide southward Saturday into Sunday. In fact, by Sunday, we will have sunshine, but temperatures will languish in the 40s and the 50s on the backs of some fairly aggressive winds out of the north and the west. By Monday, the chill will have returned to North Georgia. We'll look for temperatures to start out below freezing with wind chills in the teens and the 20s.
So it looks like the cloudiness out there now. By the way, you said you'd like to break the record. Is that just because you're a warm weather guy?
I am a warm weather guy. I don't think anyone is not aware of that fact if you've listened to me just a couple times. But if we're going to break records, let's break long-standing records. And so I was specifically pointing it out tomorrow, Thursday, because the record dates all the way back to 1891.
Wow.
Someone off camera could do that kind of math.
Record keeping back in the late 1800s.
They had literally just started.
You know?
Because I think it is 1880, when the record started. So they were
kind
about
of
a decade into
opposite of last weekend. Saturday is going to be our rainy day. And hopefully
it's
Sunday
still,
we squeak out some sunshine.
I'm still not ready to close off Saturday and say that it's going to be an absolute washout, because I think maybe the second part of the day we'll be able to recover. That area of low pressure moves in pretty quick. That's 8 o'clock in the morning, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 4. Okay, now we're into the afternoon, and that thing is safely to the south of the metro area. So there's a potential that the second half of the day won't be, bright and sunny, but
this won't be pouring.
Yeah, we may not have pouring rain. And I think with Friday and Saturday's waves that move through, they're two different systems. This is the setup for Friday. It's a cold front. And as I told you, it'll move through and it will take the clouds and the rain along with it. So the second half of the day, we'll just see how quickly that moves out to see how we can boost up that temperature to the 70s. But then
Does it scroll into Sunday?
Too far.
Yeah.
Too much to ask.
Well, at least you walked us through Saturday.
Yeah,
which is
so. And Sunday's just going to be breezy. I think we're going to keep all
and
the
cold, right? Next week.
Cooler, yeah, cold. Cold again.
Yeah, like down into the 30s again. Jonathan, thanks. I want to show you some live pictures. This is of the connector up in Sandy Springs, because we want to talk about some breaking news. Is that what Sky Fox is over right now? No, all right. Well, we're getting information up in Sandy Springs, and that's why we're showing you the live picture up there. Confirmation that a 2-year-old boy has been shot and killed. Again, this happening in Sandy Springs. It happened in the area of Sandalwood Drive in Sandy Springs. Police say there's no danger to the public right now, but they are reporting the death of this 2-year-old shot and killed. They're conducting their investigation, haven't made any arrests as of now. Let me tell you again where it's happening, in the area of Sandalwood Drive in the Sandy Springs area. So just some tragic news to report to you. And as we get more information as to the circumstances surrounding this shooting of this toddler, really, a 2-year-old child shot and killed, we, of course, will bring it to you. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're watching the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. So happy you're with us. If you're streaming on your mobile device or if you're watching on your home TV, welcome to you as well. We're also streaming on YouTube at Fox 5 Atlanta, on fox5atlanta.com, TikTok, and elsewhere. You can find us in a lot of places. We're just happy you're here with us this afternoon to bring you up to date on the stories that are happening today. If you are from the metro Atlanta area, I don't have to tell you about traffic. It is miserable out there, even on a weekend. You find traffic on the downtown connector, some of the secondary roads. It's a headache. However, there's a new report that says that our commute times are actually less than what they have been. Let's get out to Kevin Stewart to sort through all of this. It's hard to believe, Kevin.
Who knew? Who knew? Yeah, this is a shocker for many people. People that we talked to today say they certainly had a hard time believing this. This is part of a study, a survey taken by the Atlanta Regional Commission. The last time they did this was 2019, so pre-pandemic. So they said they talked to roughly 6,000 people in 20 counties across the metro area and determined that, yes, your commute is 5 minutes better now. And so what they believe, the big thing here is due to teleworking, people working from home, and that's changing the hours where people are on the road. Not as many people on the front end of the day during the morning commute and the back end of the day during the afternoon, evening commute. And what you're seeing is people say during the course of the day out on the road, say around lunchtime or 2 o'clock or something like that. And what you're having happen is the peak hours are being stretched out, and that they believe is the reason why people may not feel this because they see traffic on the road all times of the day. Take a listen.
The average commute distance has stayed pretty much the same. It was 19 miles in 2019. It's 18.5 now. But that average commute time, to your point, has come down, 4 to 5 minutes. That does reflect sort of what our transportation department is seeing in their data modeling and the other surveys that we're doing, which is that the peak period has been spread out. So when people used to commute, there were more people traveling at the 8 to 10 in the morning and then 3 to 6 in the afternoon. Those peaks have now been squashed down a little bit and spread more throughout the day.
All right, now the second part that really stood out in this survey is how people are getting around. What they found is that fewer people are carpooling and fewer people are taking public transportation like trains and buses. I had a chance to talk to a young woman who lives in Douglas County. She says because she shares a car with her mom, she has to take public transportation at least once a week, and she moves from Douglasville up to Kennesaw, particularly to Kennesaw State. Now, she says she can do that economically. She can do that after some transferring from multiple buses. She can do it for $5, but it takes about 4 hours. And so that is a problem, even though she says it's necessary. And I asked her if she was surprised that people are not taking public transportation. And I asked her to explain that in the context of her situation. Take a listen.
It's a good thing to utilize, especially for me, because there's Uber, but for me personally, I choose the bus because Uber there from here is like $50-$60 depending on the traffic. It can go up to $70-$80. Nobody has that just lying around to just throw on an Uber, and that's there and back. So it's just I'm a little surprised because it's a resourceful tool.
The transit network that we have is a relic of what has been available and what voters have selected over the various referenda that we've had for 50 plus years as a region. But it does certainly create challenges for supporting those connections across jurisdictions. If you're wanting to come from Douglas to Cobb.
All right, now when you look at buses in particular, the last time they did the study was back in 2019, and according to the survey, the ARC said that roughly 3.4% of the people who participated said that a bus was their primary mode of commuting. Now that number is down to 0.4%. So obviously taking a bus is not a big option for folks, whether it's taking MARTA or taking the express buses out of the suburban communities like that young woman. Tom?
I wonder why that is. In other words, do buses just not serve the destinations that these people need to get to? And that woman that you spoke to, 4 hours to get to and from work, that's torture.
Yeah, the ARC says there's obviously more work to be done to connect all these suburban communities and get good connections. And you know, it's a long-running story in Metro Atlanta, going way back. How efforts to expand MARTA, but even looking at, say, your county express bus services, your county bus services in individual counties, and the express buses that will take you from your suburban community down here to downtown Atlanta. There are definitely some holes that they want to connect. And in that survey, it made a point of saying that I believe it was 47% said time was an issue for a barrier for getting onto a bus or a train and using that as your primary mode of commuting. But 44% said that access is a problem. So it's definitely something that the community will be needing to work on as far as the Atlanta Regional Commission is concerned. Tom?
Yeah, because, you know, our city isn't contracting, it's expanding with more corporate headquarters here, more people moving here. And I'm a little surprised to hear that more people are teleworking, given that a lot of these companies are requiring their employees to report back to work. And yet, despite that, it sounds like it's...
I was surprised by that too. I absolutely was. And one of the things that was actually particularly interesting in that survey we had a chance to talk about was the fact that carpooling being down. Obviously, during the pandemic, the last time they did this was 2019. Working from home wasn't a thing. That became more of an issue during the pandemic, and more people have been asked to come back into work. But according to the survey, it's not as many as you think. And if you compare it pre-pandemic, it's a lot more. And so what has happened is they're hoping to get more people more companies to get back into the van pooling and the carpooling. Mm-hmm. During that interval, during the pandemic, a lot of companies pulled back on that. They believe that if more companies in the heart of the city would get back into subsidizing that, you will see better traffic time out here, and maybe people will feel more like 5 minutes will feel like 5 minutes faster.
Well, it looks like traffic moving pretty well behind you there, Kevin. And if
it's
you're
still
right,
early.
it's right. It's 3:43, so we're starting to get into the evening commute. But you're right, and you make a great point. If city leaders want to attract more business into the downtown area, because they are trying to improve downtown to make it a destination not only for business but for people to live there. They have to make it more accessible for people to get to and from, and whether that's improving rapid transit or the van pool type situations or companies being creative and getting their offices to cooperate on carpooling. I mean, it sounds like there's many options there, but it's good news that commute time is at least fractionally down for now. Kevin Stewart reporting live for us from downtown. Kevin, thanks. I want to move now to Henry County, where talk about growth and expansion. That's exactly what's happening out there. Taxpayer funds being utilized to grow that part of our area. Eli Jordan is down there. There's all kinds of things happening where you are, Eli. New fire stations opening, and a great expansion in the area of Henry County.
Oh yeah, Tom, they're quite busy with the fire station building because, like you said, Henry County is growing over 30% growth over the past decade and a half. There's about 250,000 people here in Henry County, and right now I'm outside of Hampton. This is McDonough Street, and right at the intersection of State Road 20. I'm just outside of Hampton, or just in Hampton, and a few years ago they had problems with their fire station number 5 because they had structural issues with the building, which was owned by the city of Hampton. So they had to move to a temporary location. And today they have broke ground on a new fire station number 5 for Henry County out here. And they had the groundbreaking. They had a bunch of county commissioners and Hampton City Council and Henry County Fire Department. And so they got that going on, and they expect this to be built by next March of 2027, but they also have some other fire stations slotted to be built and constructed today throughout the next couple of years. But I spoke with Fire Chief Pat Wilson, and here's what he had to say about today's event. Chief, how important is today's event for Henry County and the citizens?
Oh man, it is so important for us today. You know, to be able to have this fire station back in the city of Hampton, it's going to improve our response times. It's going to help us maintain that ISO rating that we want to have for this area, which is ISO 2 for Henry County, which includes Hampton. It's important for our firefighters to know that they are going to have a new home. So, and obviously, it's going to be very important for our community because it'll be another space that belongs to the people of Henry County.
And you guys not only cover just the county, you cover municipalities as well, correct?
Absolutely. So we have the city of Hampton, Locust Grove, Stockbridge. We also provide automatic aid to the city of McDonald. They have their own fire department, but we do work closely with the city of McDonald's fire department.
And this isn't the only fire project going on. Over the next few years, Henry County residents are going to see a lot of new departments show up, right?
Absolutely. So we're very excited already because of SPLOST and what the citizens have voted on and allowed us to have SPLOST. We have Fire Station 18, or Fire Station 17, Fire Station 18, and Fire Station 19 that are all slotted to be built over the next several years.
And this one is slotted to be finished by when?
By the spring of 2027. Right now they're saying March, so I kind of say spring because, you know, weather could affect that. So sometime during the spring of 2027.
Spring of 2027, and it's right here at the intersection of
Georgia Highway 20 and McDonald Street here in Hampton, Georgia.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
That was Henry County Fire Chief Pat Wilson speaking about the new Fire Station number 5, which is about to be built here at the intersection of McDonough Street and State Road 20, thanks to SPLOST funds, which the voters voted on, Tom, a 1-cent sales tax for projects just as this. Back to you, man.
I'm interested, Eli. I mean, it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere. I mean, unless you're not pointing the camera at
It always feels like I'm in the middle of nowhere, Tom.
I know. Well, that's another discussion to have at another time.
Well, really, where I'm at, I am really close to Echo Park.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, it's it's this way a little bit west, Echo Park, and so it's just around the corner from that. So it's naturally not quite as heavily populated. Hampton is just about 2 miles just up the road to my left here, and it's a quaint, nice little town and everything. But I am kind of. It seems like I'm in the middle of nowhere, but State Road 20, which is right over this way, just about 200 yards away, it's a main thoroughfare through here, so it's not quite out in the middle of nowhere. There's plenty of room with development out here.
I'm interested if this fire station goes up, will it sort of act as an anchor in that area to then do some other building around there? In other words, grow the area?
Well, I mean, it looks like
there's standing.
Well, I mean, it looks like there's some developments going on around it. This is about 4 acres that the fire department will be their newest one, and they got fire station 17 and 18 and 19 coming up. But right here, I'll tell you, across the street, there's development in this field going on right there. So there's some. I see some workers up here. It looks like they're trying to get some utilities going, some infrastructure, scouting or whatever. So yes. It looks like this might be a new major intersection eventually in the next few years, Tom.
If you're to drive, Eli, from Henry County up into Metro Atlanta, the downtown area, how long would that take you?
Depends on what time of day it is and what day it is.
Like moderate
in the mornings,
traffic.
I could moderate traffic for me to travel from Locust Grove, which is about parallel here, up to the station, which is close to the Emory and CDC.
Right.
To drive from there on a moderate day, about 45 minutes.
Okay, so you got commuters down there.
That's using Peach Pass.
Who are living down there and commuting into the city to go to work. So it makes sense.
Yep.
And hearing that it's a growing area, happy to see that their infrastructure is expanding out there in Henry County. Eli Jordan, great reporting. Eli, thanks. We have breaking news to get to right now. You've been following the story of those missing skiers. We have information breaking just here in the past hour that 8 backcountry skiers have been found dead. 1 still missing after that avalanche in California's Sierra Nevada mountains. Officials announcing search crews Tuesday braved highly dangerous conditions. I mean, look at what's happening out there to rescue these skiers who went missing, and then 8 of them turned up dead. Crews working to bring the remains now of those 8 dead skiers off the mountain to be reunited with their families after autopsies are performed to determine the cause of death. Authorities say that a group of 16 skiers reportedly encountered that avalanche Tuesday morning in the Sierra Nevadas, northwest of Lake Tahoe. And as I mentioned, weather conditions remain extremely dangerous. Our coverage here at 3 p.m. continues right after this. Welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour, everybody. I'm Tom Haines, live with you in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Been covering a lot of ground, a lot of breaking news happening on this Wednesday. I want to take you to the White House, where Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt spoke about a number of issues, from the economy to President Trump's visit to Northwest Georgia here tomorrow. Let's listen.
Let's begin with some scheduling announcements for the remainder of President Trump's very busy week. Today at 3 p.m., President Trump will host a Black History Month reception in the East Room of the White House. I know many of you will attend, and we will see you up there. Tomorrow, President Trump will host a Board of Peace meeting at the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace, where he will announce that member states have pledged more than $5 billion towards the Gaza humanitarian and reconstruction efforts, and have also committed thousands of personnel to the International Stabilization Force and local police to maintain security and peace for Gazans. Tomorrow afternoon, the president will travel to the great state of Georgia, where he will visit 2 local businesses and give a speech on his efforts to make life affordable for working people. On Friday, President Trump will host a working breakfast with governors in the East Room here at the White House. And on Saturday night, President Trump and the First Lady will host the annual Governor's Dinner. Next, I'd like to provide an update on the economy. We're seeing promising signs every day that 2026 is going to be a record successful year for the American people, just as President Trump promised them. The January jobs report shattered expectations, highlighting how the president's pro-growth economic agenda is fueling American prosperity. The economy added 172,000 new private sector sector jobs to kick off the year. That's more than 2.5 times economists' predictions. The labor force participation rate went up while the unemployment rate fell. The prime age labor force participation rate is now at its highest since 2001. Most importantly, 100% of all job creation under President Trump continues to be in the private sector. This is truly remarkable. That's 615,000 private sector jobs that have been added in President Trump's second term thus far. These are real working people. These are real American families who will be living out their American dream. Meanwhile, federal government employment has shrunk to its lowest level since 1966, saving taxpayers $29 billion annually. And all of the net job growth under President Trump has gone to native-born Americans, ending the disgraceful pattern under Joe Biden of job gains going to non-citizens.
All right, Caroline Levitt speaking from the podium of the White House briefing room this afternoon, talking about the economy and the president's visit here to Georgia tomorrow. He's expected to arrive sometime after 1 p.m. up in northwest Georgia. As you know, there's a special election happening up there to fill the seat of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who the president calls Marjorie Traitor Greene. All right, they had a big political falling out, and so there's a big special election happening in northwest Georgia. The president going to campaign up there, perhaps kicking off really formally the midterm election season. So the president going to be visiting a couple of small businesses, speaking. Our Christopher King is going to be on that beat tomorrow, bringing us live coverage of the president's visit. And of course, you'll be able to see it all live happening here on Fox Local. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. I'm Tom Haines, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. The news continues right here, right now.